This is a Stop Playing podcast with Sham and Shaka. I'm Sham.
I'm Shaka. Welcome back.
Welcome to season 3.
Yes. The ultimate important season, as we've already talked about for all our other shows as well.
Exactly.
So a lot of pressure on us.
It is a lot of pressure. We gotta come through. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah. We had a good pre-production meeting, guys. We got a lot of exciting stuff coming up.
I think so. So for you guys, if you want to subscribe to us, we're everywhere. And if you've already subscribed, thank you. Tell your friends. You can reach us on Facebook at the Stop Playing Podcast and also on Instagram at the Stop Playing Podcast and on Twitter at Stop_Playing Pod. And I've been very active on Twitter these past few weeks during our breaks.
You have.
So if you want to get at me, I'm at that sports chick and we can chop it up as well.
Yeah, Sham has been guiding me along in the social media age. As savvy as I sound, sometimes I'm woefully behind in social media. Like I've just now started mastering Facebook.
And I'm the one that's older. How'd that work out?
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting there like with my finger hovering over stuff like, what am I supposed to do?
True. I've had a lot of interesting conversations on social media for the past few weeks. It's interesting.
Yeah. So listen, we've said that you're a troll, and we say that in the nice way. But you have a big appetite for like social media interaction. That's a very good way to put it in it. Would you like to put it a different way?
I mean, no.
Sham will find the time and space, even amongst work and everything else she has to do, to at somebody and get at it.
Trying to keep this thing going, man. Trying to keep it flowing. You know, we had a long break. I didn't want nobody to forget about us.
Yeah, so. You're doing a good job. And it fits perfectly with your personality. One of our exchanges literally was like, we were like, Sam was basically saying, get out there a little bit more now. And I agreed with her. But I was like, I don't have your appetite to do this kind of stuff, because if I'm putting if I get in a bad mood dealing with somebody on social media, that will come across, and I don't want to hurt the show. She was like, it won't hurt the show. Just get out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, just get out there. Yeah, I think about it in a different way, I think. But and then she's correct.
I spend a lot of time laughing instead of getting in a bad mood. Like, people say stuff to me, and I think it's just like the most hilarious thing that they would even come out their face with certain things. And I just hit them back with like, you're so cute. I should start following you.
You know what? Let me get this off my chest right now, and then we can move to something else. Let me just say it, and I've said it on the show before when I went on my rant about Khalil Mack. The Raider Nation online community bothers me. I don't understand why. Their takes are horrible. Their takes are just horrible. They don't know what they're talking about. And if you're on the Raiders Nation and online, and you know what, we've crossed paths, at me, because whatever. You guys have no idea what you're talking about. Half of you wanted us to trade Khalil Mack, which I'm still not over that. So
the other half of them want Tom Brady. So there's that.
I mean, I'm with that half. That half is cool on that one. So
hilariously, on Shaka's behalf, I've been interacting a lot with Raider Nation, more so than I've been interacting with the Bird Gang.
Yeah. So that prompted our conversation.
I'm about to shift that back to where I belong.
Where you belong.
Then fly
Eagles, fly.
Exactly.
And we'll get to the NFL. So moving on. So how have things been for you during this break?
Things have been pretty cool. I mean, we talked off the show about like my mom and her health issues. Certain things are getting better. Some things are not. Right now, she's still in a good space.
Good.
But you know what I noticed?
What's that?
I go to work because I have 2 jobs. Mm-hmm. Then as soon as I'm done, I go to my mom's. I stay there. Like, there's an endless cycle of me just going to work, going to her house. I pay rent for a place I don't see very often.
Yeah.
And what I've decided is that I spend a lot of money on DoorDash and my most recent obsession, Postmates. And I decided the other day, look, I'm just going to sign up for a meal delivery, and it starts this week. Let's see what happens.
That's what's up. Do you want to give me pub to the service? Or?
I mean, I'm trying Freshly. I mean, I don't know if that's pub, but they were all through my timeline, and they had a really good deal. So I'm getting like 12 meals for like less than $100.
The fees are outrageous even DoorDash, which is actually pretty reasonable in comparison. But these delivery apps, I mean, I'm doing it right now.
You waiting for one today?
Yeah, because it's been quick warning. But anyway, yeah, the fees are outrageous.
Yeah.
And you start adding them up, just the fees alone, and you're like, that's a bill,
Yeah, I bought
Like,
lunch the
that's
other day,
a utility.
and my lunch was like $16, and I had to tip the driver. So if you think about you paying $20 every day for lunch, and not to mention the fact that when you leave work on the way home, you got to grab something to eat. That's easily $30 to $40 a day just to eat.
I got an air fryer. Best thing I ever did.
You know, my air fryer still sitting in the box, and
You were tripping.
I got mine before you got yours.
You were tripping. Best thing I ever did.
Haven't been home.
Man,
I have no time to go to the grocery store, and I have no time to
because I was about to say maybe you could take, because I mean it's so easy, and
that's one of the things I'm like sad about. My air fryer just chilling.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try this and see if it like kind of helps me a little bit with money and time.
Cool.
And we'll see. I'll keep the folks updated.
Cool. Anything else before I give a little update that you were nice enough to post? So, Stop Playing Podcast family. We're expanding the family and merging a little bit. I got a little taste of celebrity this week and last week and the upcoming week. So today is the 8th, right? That we're taping. So the first show premiered on the 4th is called Kicking It with Candy. My friend Candace, who I've known for a few years now. And we posted a video of the first episode on the page and on all our media platforms. So check it out. I thought I looked quite handsome, Sham.
Did you see the still that I cut?
Yeah.
I got you at the perfect angle.
Thank you.
I'm here for you, brother.
Thank you. But it was a lot of fun. And Candy has done a great job. Candace has done a great job with that show. She tapes us here in DC. So it was me, Ali, her best friend Kia, and her. We were talking about relationships, which you and I have talked about. We were going to do a relationship show. So maybe, we'll talk about it. Maybe we can do 1 or 2 or what have you, and have her on for that and we'll reciprocate. We'll see. But it was a lot of fun. So we taped in one session, but she's breaking it up in 2 pieces. So if you saw the first session last week, the first episode, part 2 will premiere this Tuesday, February the 11th. We may or may not have this out by then, but hopefully, and you guys can catch it. And I did forget to mention our names at first, and she corrected me. So it wasn't just your name; it was my name too.
Yeah.
But she corrected me. She corrected me and looked out for you.
She had my back.
She had your back.
Thanks, Candy.
And look, everybody was like, "Oh, Sham, gonna get you, boy." That's why I had to address it on the show. But it was a lot of fun.
No, I cut you some slack.
Yeah, thank you.
It wasn't. I heard it and I was like, "Dang, he forgot my name." Whatever. And
then names.
And then when she corrected you, I was like, "Oh, she did a job. I ain't gotta do anything."
Look, she overcompensated. She was like, "Sham."
She said, "I got you, girl."
Yeah. So now it was a lot of fun. So,
yeah, we'll post the link to the second part this week.
We'll connect this Facebook Live, so we'll connect it on there.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome, man. So anytime we have a break, a lot happens.
A lot has happened in the past month or so that we've been off. And the biggest thing that's happened, and by now, it's been talked about a lot, but I think it's still going to be one of those things that just lingers. It's the passing of Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gigi, and 7 other passengers in his helicopter.
Incredibly sad. Where were you and how'd you find out?
I was at my second job working with the customer, and she picked up her phone. Her niece had texted her, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, Kobe Bryant died." I was like, "What?" Yeah. Like I immediately got a chill. It went through my body and I was just like started shaking and I was like, for real? So like I did something we're not supposed to do. I like reached down and picked up my phone and I looked at it and like I instantly started to like well up into tears. I couldn't get that good cry that I wanted because I was at work, but I did take a break and like kind of get it out like about an hour later. Man, it's just like a really, really sad thing, man. Like, and that's the understatement of it all, know? And it's interesting because I talked to you about one of my best friends, Stanley, right before the show. He's a huge Lakers fan, been a Lakers fan since he was small. And we always used to have these discussions about Kobe and this. Because let me tell you, I wasn't a Kobe fan. I always looked at Kobe as the anti-Jordan, the wannabe. You know what I mean?
I have a funny addendum to that in a second.
But I do acknowledge that number 8 Kobe and number 24 Kobe were two different Kobes. Like I started to have more of an appreciation for him during the 24 years.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like he was just really brash and disrespectful when he came into the league. I didn't like the relationship between him and Shaq. I felt like he didn't really respect him.
Yep.
But I feel like he did, but just didn't know how to appreciate him in a way, kind of. Yeah. Once that kind of imploded and he had to kind of humble himself and kind of turn it all around, I started to then feel him a little more.
I think this discussion is interesting. So a couple of things. Number one, I was at the house, and a friend of mine, actually, you know this friend, the one who ran for Congress.
Yeah.
It was her birthday, Kim Ford.
Mm-hmm.
It was her birthday, that Monday. So she had a party right around the corner from here. So we were getting ready to go. I was getting ready to go. And it was like a brunch at one of the spots here. And anyway, long story short, this hit like right before that. And so it came across my phone, and we'll talk a little bit about journalism. I think I have some thoughts on that. But TMZ broke it, and then people started posting it on the internet and all that, and Facebook. And I mean, it was one of those things like, is this real? Like, yeah. Because ironically, LeBron has just passed him the day before. He was in the news.
Tweet. Yep.
And that was his last tweet congratulating LeBron. So it was one of those things like, okay, Kobe's been in the news recently because of that. So is this like some kind of sick joke? What? And then we fleshed it out. So then the party's still happening. Okay. I mean, people get there, and I mean, everybody's just, I couldn't imagine. She addressed it. I mean, she was just like, this is like the worst time to have a birthday party right now. Like everyone was just kind of standing around.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt bad for her in that sense, but we kind of processed it through the rest of the day. Now, interesting what you said about his legacy. First and foremost, I randomly listen to our podcast a lot. I came across the one in which you were talking about his field goal percentage.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we really had some fun with that. But yeah, it made me sad just to hear us talking about it. Very interesting, I think, also to hear you talk about his relationship with Shaq. I think that's one of the many ways in which Kobe Bryant was respected by everyone in terms of his ability. I think no one can deny he's one of the best players ever and so on. But his legacy is sort of, now it's being universally celebrated, but it was polarizing.
Mm-hmm.
You and I kind of even on this disagree about his relationship with Shaq in the sense that I agree with you that he didn't show him a lot of respect, but at times, but I felt like that was on Shaq. I actually did not like Kobe until he started complaining about how Shaq used to come back to, the season or camp out of shape and was vocal. And to me, he was doing that because Shaq used to basically put it out there that he felt like Kobe was shooting too much and stuff like that.
Which he did.
Well, and that's true. It is true. He shot entirely too much.
Straight heist.
But I mean, and it's funny because you and I just had a conversation about like defensiveness and truth and all that. But so in that respect, Kobe kind of like got defensive, but then he started putting some truths out about Shaq. And I'll never forget. I remember him being at training camp one year, and I think Shaq did a couple things. He was out of shape, and he waited until like the maybe 2 weeks before camp, and then got a surgery. So that he had to miss like, so he had to miss like 20 games or whatever. And Kobe basically like unloaded on him, like in front of the media. I remember that interview. It was so disrespectful. but I liked him. I was like, man, okay, well, he's not for play. Another real quick thing, and I'm glad we can we can appreciate it though. I mean, what a Kobe thing to do. Didn't he take like 40 shots in his last game or something like that? It was something crazy.
Yeah, he scored
like 51 points, but he took like 40 or 50 shots. It's something crazy. Yeah. That's a Kobe thing to do.
Yeah.
I saw it finally. Everybody had done their tributes. I saw Dwight Howard do a tribute to him. And look, he said all the right things in the tribute, but I was like, one of the most disrespectful stories I heard about Kobe was definitely the way he treated Dwight Howard. Yeah. And I also liked him because of that. And I think we talked about it on the show. When Dwight Howard was a free agent and they had that meeting.
Right. Oh, and also too, so a lot, I've been going down the rabbit hole with Kobe the
Yeah.
past couple weeks, obviously watching videos of him and his daughter. We'll get on her in a second.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So there was one video that stood out where they're interviewing him, and this is after Dwight Howard left the team. He decided to go to Houston, and the interviewer was like, "So Kobe, what do you think's going on with Dwight Howard? Where do you think I don't know. He's probably in Houston somewhere, And he's like, well, how do you feel about him leaving? He's like, look, I really don't give a fuck about him right now. Like, I fell out, and when I tell you, I replayed that video like 5 times. I was like, this is Kobe.
That's Kobe.
Like, he didn't give a shit about what Dwight Howard was doing. Like, we on the practice court right now. Can we get back to these shooting drills?
I mean, Kobe was savage, but he was also extremely polished, extremely nuanced. Michael Wilbon used a perfect word. He was intellectually curious. Won an Oscar. I think we said it when it happened, but now, I mean, you think about that. That's incredible for that his documentary. So, I mean, this was a well-rounded individual, spoke several languages because he, his dad played overseas, so he spent a lot of time overseas.
English is his second language.
Yeah. And I tried to I was talking to my mom about it, and she was like, isn't he from Philadelphia? And I was like, what? He was born there. And he went to high school there at the end, but he spent time overseas. His dad was
So he was about 5 or 6 years old, and he talked about this. Yep. I saw a clip when he came back to the States and he was in school. He had to learn English because he couldn't understand the other kids.
Actually, I recall a commercial in which he was speaking Italian, and he was playing ball, and he was playing with a bunch of Italians. But anyway, so just he had that type of life and the type of legacy that I think, he accomplished enough on a tangible level where you can't deny that, and you can't you can't shortchange that. But then there were other aspects of him that was so sort of polarizing that it just always engenders discussion.
Yeah, it does.
So
when he initially retired, I think I want to say the next day, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm starting a venture capitalism company." Yep. Bryant Seibel, I want to say that's the name of it. His buddy Jake Seibel, who put a beautiful tribute out there after he passed.
Yeah.
And it's obviously I'm into astrology, he's Virgo. So they're very specific people, they're very earth signs, very kind of this is how it's going to be done. Regimen. Yeah. Yes. They don't break away from what needs to be done to accomplish something. They're very type A people. And so his venture capital company has only been now open for 3 years. They already have a 1.9 billion investment that it had
a valuation oh my gosh,
from one company that they acquired.
Wow.
So you knew when Kobe set out to do something, it was bound to be great.
Yep.
And one more thing before we start getting into some other aspects. Yeah. Down my rabbit hole. Yeah. And I've been looking for this video forever. Okay. I remember seeing this during the playoffs. I want to say it was 2002. They had just won a game against the Spurs. Bruce Bowen, I guess, in the previous game had, played some good defense on him, but you really could never, kind of contain him. So after this game, Craig Sager comes up to me. He's like, Kobe, you want to talk about the night ball or something like that? And Kobe's like, yeah, everybody talking about how they going to stop Kobe. No, they didn't. You can't stop me. I can go anywhere I want, whenever I want. And wow. Craig Sager was like, all right. That is my favorite Kobe sound bite ever. And I cannot find it anywhere on YouTube, any place. But I remember me and my friend Stanley talked about that for days. When he was like, everybody talking about they could stop Kobe. Yeah. No, they didn't.
Before we go down the rabbit hole of the reactions and the fallout, real quick, my 3 favorite Kobe moments. Moment number 1. It was actually relatively recent. He retired, and I think he went on, I want to say Kimmel, and they were asking him about the state of the Lakers and how I think the Lakers won 2 straight or something. All the players were celebrating. They were going on social media and all that. And they asked him, and he just looked at him. He didn't say anything. And the look, so Kimmel asked Kobe, and Kobe just sat there and stared at him like, are you serious? That's pathetic, basically.
It's too
Yeah, and he just sat there. He just sat there for like 20 seconds, and the crowd started laughing. It was great, and it was a very Kobe thing to do. All right, moment number 2. It was in the it was right after Shaq had left, and the Lakers were not good. Okay, and I think they had gotten they had gotten either kicked out of the playoffs or hadn't even made it one year, and Bynum was still there, and Kobe had threatened to leave. And apparently it got back to him that the Lakers had been given an offer for Andrew Bynum, and I forget who it was for. But he was
I think it was some East Coast team.
Yeah, and it was for somebody good. It was for somebody good, and they turned it down. Mm-hmm. And they got back to him, and he was walking through like a parking lot or something, and somebody asked him, and he was like, I mean, I heard we turned that for Andrew Bynum. Who is Andrew Bynum? Like he said it like, we should have shipped him off for that. And said it just like that. And basically was putting it out there like, I will leave if we don't do something right now. But just the way he said, Andrew Bynum, like we turned it down for him.
That's so cool.
And I was like, wow, man. And then moment number 3, I was alluding to it before we got started when I was talking to Dwight Howard. I've talked about this on the show, but I've not gone into detail. Basically, it was this. Dwight Howard was getting ready to be a free agent. Steve Nash and whoever the GM, Mitch Kupchak and Jerry Buss were going to meet with Dwight Howard and try to convince him to stay. And it was a big setup meeting. And they told Kobe to, what time it was going to be. And everybody, Steve Nash came in a suit. Everybody came. Kobe comes in a shirt and shorts and a chain and glasses. They were trying to convince Dwight Howard to stay. He comes in and says, convince me why I want you to stay. And basically like almost cussed him out and then walked out. Like, I don't care what you do. And Dwight Howard cites that as the reason he left because he's soft and crap.
Well, yeah.
Even though he's there now.
We know
doing
that.
All right.
Yeah.
Favorite Kobe moment. Kobe thing to do.
Yeah, that's a very
Kobe thing to do. Yeah. So rest in peace to
Kobe.
To Kobe Bryant. And
gosh,
Gianna. Yeah, it gets sad. Yeah,
John Altobelli, who was a baseball coach, his wife Carrie Altobelli, and his daughter Alyssa Altobelli, who played at the Mamba Academy with Gianna Bryant. Also, Christina Mauser was her coach. Yeah. Sarah Chester and Peyton Chester, mom and daughter. Peyton was also a player on that team. Yep. And his pilot, Ara Zobayan, I want to say. Or is it Ara Zobayan?
I think it's Ara. Yeah.
Who was his pilot for many years.
That's right.
The only man he trusted to fly.
Yeah.
Him.
So this was an experienced pilot. This was not, I mean... It sounds like you're gonna give us some details, so I'll save those.
Not too many, because it's still kind of unfolding. They're still doing investigations about it. There was something new that came out yesterday, but I didn't actually. I couldn't bring myself to open it and read it, which I probably should have. But I'm not going to talk too much about the technicality of the flying and all that type of stuff. Yeah. What the reactions? Well, before we get to the reactions. I want to talk about Gigi a little bit. Okay. Because if you've ever seen a spitting image, just mini me of anybody, that little girl was basically Kobe light. Yeah. Everything again, me in the rabbit hole watching all the videos. Vanessa Bryant had posted a bunch of family videos and photos this past week because she finally built up the courage to come out and basically address it, which, oh my God, her life.
Yeah, devastating.
It is devastating. She did the crossover spin move, turnaround, fadeaway jumper, just like him. She was a ball hog like him. I will say every video, she ain't passed the ball. Yeah.
Hey, why not?
She just had his whole spirit. And I just remember when she was little, when it was just the two girls, how when I saw her I think she might have been 3 or 4 years old. I was like, gosh, she looks just like him. He's got like a twin out here. And to see the photos of you could see the connection between the two of them at such a young age. There's photos of her just grabbing onto his leg, or while the other daughter is just kind of whatever that. This daughter, Gigi, was always just under him. You could tell, she just they just connected.
They both recognize, I think, their similarities, and they took a lot of pictures together, and you could tell.
And from such a small child, 1, 2 years old, it's just heart-wrenching to think
no, it's just
of
devastating.
just all of that.
Yeah.
But what I didn't like is some people saying, well, why were they in a helicopter? If you know anything about Kobe Bryant, and me not even being a fan, this is general knowledge. Kobe used that helicopter frequently for years to get back and forth from home to Staples Center to go wherever. Like, this isn't like a one shot where, you know, first of all, the people who are saying like, I would never put my child in a helicopter. You can't afford to put your child in a helicopter. You saying all this,
right?
You know, like you are the type of person that wouldn't even have one. So of course,
I will say this: I fly a lot. I'm not a big fan of helicopters. I mean, they're just as I that's a personal thing. But no, I'm not going to criticize him for that. As a matter of fact, from what I understand, he started using helicopters because one time he had a game it was very near a practice or something, very near one of his daughter's events. I don't even think it was a game. I think it was like a recital or something. And he was late, either going to it or coming from it, sitting in traffic. Mm-hmm. And so someone suggested he start doing that. And then after that, he always did it. So it's actually a lot more heartbreaking to know that it was family that caused him to start doing it in the first place. But then he did it all the time. To your point, he would do it to and from practices and games. Mm-hmm. So this is not a one-off. And no, I mean, look, your daughter plays on the team with Kobe Bryant, and you all are going to the game or whatever. Of course, you're gonna do it. I don't even like helicopters, and I'm gonna do it. One photo that was very heartbreaking. They showed a photo of the team waiting for them, or I guess having heard when they were going to the game or whatever they were going. So all of them took a knee and prayed, and the girls were crying and stuff. And also to that point about the helicopter, is it true? I meant to ask you, maybe you know or don't, that he and Vanessa made an agreement that the two of them would never be in one in case something happened? Yeah. So that's sad, but I mean, it's devastating for her. But they have 3 other children, especially one just not newborn, but a
7
year
months old.
Yeah. So she'll be around for them, but
that's sad.
Yeah, it's very sad.
She will never know her father.
It's very sad.
And they have a 3-year-old. She probably won't remember him.
Yeah, it's very sad. So we've had some time. It was almost 2 weeks ago now. When is the funeral?
The 24th. They're doing a memorial at Staples Center, but I don't know about like the actual funeral.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
Yeah. So February 24th, the memorial is going to be at the Staples Center. So
we have a lot more time before
that. I mean, it's not going to be any closure anytime soon.
Yeah.
So so some things have spiraled out of this.
Yeah. You go first.
So I'm sure if you know anything about Kobe Bryant, you also know that in 2003 was in 2004. One of those. The situation happened out in Eagle, Colorado, where the young lady in the hotel accused him of sexual assault. And that kind of like she dropped the charges and then sued him civilly, and it kind of went away.
Yeah.
So people have chosen to bring that up. Like one teacher posted on her social media that it was karma that this happened to him.
That is not acceptable.
It's not acceptable at all, because was it the karma of the 8 other people's?
Right.
Like you just really just put their lives under his karma.
Right.
That sucked, but she ended up getting suspended or something like that.
Yep. Washington Post reporter got suspended as well. Posting the link.
Gayle King.
Yeah, so that's a big one.
That's a big one.
That just happened.
That just happened a couple of days ago. She interviewed Lisa Leslie.
Yeah.
And the interview was actually a good interview until this section came up. She asked if what happened in Eagle, Colorado would tarnish how she felt that would figure into his legacy.
2003 Eagle, Colorado.
Okay, 2003.
Yep.
And I love Lisa Leslie's answer. She's like, I think we're well beyond that.
Yeah.
Like, I think at this point, he's done so much. We're well beyond that thing. Like, she didn't want to get into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd rather she said that, but keep going.
But the backlash on this has been crazy.
Swift and terrible.
Snoop Dogg just
Snoop is he went gangster rap.
He excoriated her.
Gayle King
on her, and so did 50 Cent.
Yeah.
But now she's saying that it's CBS's fault because they showed that clip out of context to the general tone of the interview. Like,
so it's
so people are just like, why'd you even bring it up at all?
Here's okay. Very brief on my part. Take. I actually had a very heated discussion with some friends about this yesterday. Is it a tad distasteful to bring it up, especially since Lisa, Leslie, and Kobe are friends? Sure. Is it unacceptable to bring it up? I don't think so. You're a journalist. I mean, you can't. My take on it was, I mean, this is the man's life. It's part of his life. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, Kobe, while this trial was going on, if not his best basketball, was playing close to it. And it was actually quite remarkable to see. Now he physically had like lost weight. You could tell the stress was getting to him. But in terms of on the court performance, it was the compartmentalizing he had to do while this was happening was incredible. So you can't even pretend, even if you wanted to, you couldn't pretend like this didn't happen. Yeah, I mean, it's not unacceptable. I mean, there are ways to do it. And I think now I have a problem with Gayle King running from it. If you did it, you did it. Don't blame the network.
Don't blame the network.
You know, and Gayle King, like, I kind of stood with you with the R. Kelly thing. You handled yourself very well with that. But if you're trying to be taken seriously, you can't run from controversy if you created it as a journalist. Either be a journalist or don't. You're going to blame the network. If I was one of those producers or whoever at the network, I'd be like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Folks was pulling out old pictures of her posing and smiling with Harvey Weinstein.
Right. Right. Because, you know,
going hard.
She catches the same smoke Oprah catches for that. And
yes.
we'll get to him. But yeah, so that's just my quick take. She's a journalist.
Yeah. So another article that I found was about the how this has affected the men in the Black community.
Yeah, that's very interesting, huh?
Yeah. Because Black men are known to not want to show their emotion. Well, this type of emotion, I should say. And they're taught to not cry and do all these types of things. But this particular event has really exposed some vulnerability that you really don't see in Black men.
So I saw a lot of social media posts that day. I mean, guys just straight out was like, yo, I'm bursting into tears. I'm crying. I'm this, I'm that. Again, I liked Kobe. You know, I don't know. I didn't cry, but it was very sad. It was one of those things like it hollows you like such a prominent figure in the world. Gone suddenly. Of course, it affects you. Let's talk about the Black men in the NBA.
Yeah. Because,
I mean, look, this happened on a Sunday. There were games being played and then games preparing to be played the following day and so on. I mean, guys were crying on the court. It happened at such a time because games are scheduled a little later on Sundays for prime time and TV purposes that for most of the games that day, they had not started yet. So this happened. And then maybe 2 hours later, in most cases, the games were starting. So guys were on the court crying. They were crying during warm-ups. They were crying during the anthem. I thought it was very, and Wilbon said it this best too, I thought it was very clever and cerebral and smart the way that they did the 24-second violation and then would turn around and do the 8-second backcourt. I thought that was great. Whoever started that and then it spread like wildfire throughout the league, I thought that was awesome. But guys were very Kyrie Irving, who he was. I either forgot or didn't realize how close they were.
Yeah, he was like his little brother.
Yeah,
and I didn't realize it until again watching the videos and stuff. There's one video where like Kyrie is like fresh out of Duke trying to challenge him, and Kobe's like, "Yeah, right." But since then, I guess like they had spoken several times a week.
They found the video after, so Kyrie didn't play.
Carmelo didn't play either.
Carmelo didn't play either. That one, I figured that one was not a surprise. But Kyrie was a little surprised. And then I found a video with it. They asked Kobe, like, who is a protege to you? And he said Kyrie Irving.
He did.
He said it. So it was like, yeah, to your point, they talked all the time. I think that, and then it makes sense, right? Because That's clearly what influenced Kyrie when he was dealing with LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
That's clearly what influenced him. Like, he didn't handle it like Kobe would handle it.
But Kobe was in his ear.
It was his thought process.
Kobe was in his ear.
And so it was incredible to see. But he was devastated. But I mean, to see those guys on the
Michael
court crying.
Jordan
Now,
doesn't say anything.
Yeah, he had to say something.
But he didn't say it.
It was very thoughtful.
It was through his publicist.
Yes.
But
it was very thoughtful what he
said he was going to miss the conversations that they have.
Yeah.
They basically talk a couple times a week too. Like,
and
I didn't realize how many people were so tight with Kobe. The Joker said that.
Yes.
He said that he was one of his best friends.
Said it on the court when he won. When he won. That's right.
Like Kobe was one of his best friends.
And Novak Djokovic, guys.
Yeah. Novak the Joker.
We call him Joker, but
Novak Djokovic, international tennis star, world number one.
And then you talk about Mike real quick, and I know we knew we were going to spend a lot of time with Kobe. One of the more playful moments I've ever remember of Michael Jordan, period, was during the All-Star game.
2003.
I don't know. It wasn't.
It was 2003,
really?
The last one. Or was it the first one?
I'm thinking about one of Kobe's earlier ones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Probably 97.
Okay, 90s. Yeah, Jordan was still playing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess he was still playing.
It was 97.
But yeah, he was still good. He was like really good.
Mm-hmm.
And he undid Kobe's button on his warm up. So it fell off of him while he ran. And Jordan was cracking up laughing. And it's not like he didn't smile and stuff, but you rarely saw that kind of playfulness. Mm-hmm. And
he only did that with maybe a handful of people.
And he did that to Kobe, and it was just a good moment. I remembered that. And but Shaq on and you knew something was coming. So they canceled the game for the Lakers and Clippers,
that Tuesday night.
Which is crazy that those two were playing.
Yeah.
I understand why they did it. It would have been. I was conflicted about them canceling.
I was
that
indifferent.
Game. I was like, man, that would have been a great game.
It would have been. I understood both sides. Yeah. So I was just kind of like, if they do it, then fine. If not, I get it.
I'm putting a lot of emotional pressure on them to do it, but man, that would have been good to see. I think the vibe in there would have been crazy. But anyway, so when they canceled that game, the Inside the NBA crew went to the Staples Center because they were going to cover that game anyway, and just set up the studio in the middle of the floor. Right, it looked like it. And Shaq, I mean,
he balled.
He just blubbered and balled and started crying. And then Ernie, because Shaq couldn't say it, Ernie had to say it, and I'm glad he said it. He said, look, if nothing else, this here teaches you when you have a conflict, these basically at the end, seemingly insignificant conflicts, fix it. Because you don't know what's going to happen. And could you imagine if he and Shaq hadn't made up?
I know. They did a whole hour-long special.
That special was spectacular.
It was wonderful.
That special was spectacular.
I sat and watched that. It was great.
Yeah. But if they hadn't made up, that would have been, Shaq would have been crushed by this.
But I'm reading about men who couldn't even get up and go to work the next day. There was a guy in this article that said he always would kind of shun people who would cry when a celebrity dies. Mm-hmm. But he said when this happened, he was just overwhelmed with so many emotions. Yeah. Even one of my friends said that to me when Prince died. Mm-hmm. And I was just done. I just could not keep my emotions in check. She was like, you ain't never met that man. You ain't even know that man. Why are you upset? It doesn't matter who you know. It's how people impact your life.
You know, my favorite meme was, and it's good to be able to laugh about something. To that point, when people were like, you know what? To all the people who were sitting there talking to people about crying when celebrities die, remember that the next time you ask us to pray for your grandmother who we don't know. And that meme spread across. I thought that was great. Because it's you go and sit here, go on Facebook, and then they found people who did it and took screenshots. It was all y'all on here crying about Kobe, you didn't know him. And then people would find something where they'd be like, oh, y'all, please pray for my grandmother. It's nobody knows her either. So what do you want? Right. I thought that was great. Here's honestly my last thing. I mean, we could take talk. This was a black eye for journalism, and reporting. Everything that happened with Kobe, and here's why. TMZ broke the story. I have no problem with that.
They always break stories,
and honestly, they're accurate.
Always,
they're accurate. So it is what it is. Is it horrible that Vanessa Bryant had to find out basically by watching TV? Absolutely. Failure on who? The cops. Not TMZ. Failure on the authorities. Get to her. ASAP because TMZ found out somehow. That means you have a leak. So
I mean, it happened in the middle of a Calabasas canyon. Like,
exactly. So, okay. And the authorities like threw TMZ under the bus, like, oh, well, they're the media. It is your responsibility to get to that person's family immediately. Now, that being said, social media and then journalism in general, you cannot have a story like this and put incorrect information
like
out.
Rick Fox.
Correct. You're putting people in the helicopter who weren't there. You're reporting wrong numbers. You know what TMZ did that I respect? They knew Kobe Bryant was in there. And then they said, we don't know who else was in there. And we will, when we find out, we will let you know. Then all of a sudden, other places start reporting wrong stuff. You got the numbers wrong. At first, it was 5 people. You got places, people saying all 4 of his daughters were in there. That's ridiculous. Okay? You can't, if you don't know, don't report it. Period. Hobo Island journalism.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we can end that there.
Yeah, we'll end it there.
We
On
spent
outrage.
a considerable time
Yes, we have.
on Kobe, which he deserves.
He deserved it.
But rest in peace to Kobe Bryant,
Yes.
Gigi, and all of the families that were affected by this crash.
Yes, indeed.
So some other news,
Yes.
political news.
Oh, man.
So look,
Yep.
when we last recorded, they were still in the middle of like the impeachment process. It's happened.
Mm-hmm.
The trial has happened.
Yep.
And just like I've been saying since the beginning of this podcast, wake me when there are consequences, and there are yet to be any. Our president was acquitted.
Listeners, I asked, and Sham and I agreed. There's so much to bite off of this that I need to let her get the news out, and then I can add my little portion. So she got the news out. A couple of things. Number one, the Republican Senate, cowards. Republican Party in Congress, cowards.
Not Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney. And his speech was very emotional. I actually believed him. He said, look, I can't stand and swear an oath before God and then basically renege on it like everybody else did. I just don't see how Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, people who Ted Cruz, this man insulted your wife and your father during the campaign. And you were so mad about that during the campaign that at the convention, you said, vote your conscience. And what are you doing now? Carrying water for him. This man he has been acquitted, went to the prayer breakfast the next day, Sham, and was cussing and tried to nuke Nancy Pelosi at the prayer breakfast and held it up a paper talking about acquitted. Has been cussing in all kinds of speeches. He is out of control. And one of the Republicans, when on the week leading up to it, Lamar Alexander, which the funniest thing about that is black people on Facebook talk about, I didn't know there were white people named Lamar.
Right.
Anyway, from Tennessee, they had him on Meet the
Probably
Press.
was a white name first.
Yeah, it definitely was. Just like Malcolm, guys. Like Malcolm is not a black name.
Like, stop it.
He was on Meet the Press, and Chuck Todd, this is before the acquittal, and Chuck Todd said, so do you think the president has learned anything? Oh, yeah, I do. I think he's been, and Chuck Todd said, what in this man's life has shown you in any way, shape, or form, anytime he's been caught doing something wrong, that will show you that he will regret and not do it again? I think this time, though, he's been chasing. Yeah. He showed you in 2 seconds.
Right.
So that's it. Now, the House Democrats are saying they're going to continue the investigation, and there's been talk they may impeach him again if other information comes out.
Dang, we're gonna do this again?
Yeah, that you better have a tape of some sort. Jesus. And I'm talking about videotape because clearly audio isn't enough. Yeah, he's skating on this and he's riding high on this. So that's that. All of those Republican Congress people, whether in the Senate or the House, have no moral authority to say anything to anyone. They saw this man commit a crime and said, we don't need witnesses or anything like that. So he skated. On to the campaign. So
the Iowa caucus happened.
Somebody said it best, and I've used this metaphor for other things, but it is applicable for this. This was the Fyre Fest.
What is it, like 3 days?
Yes. This was the Fyre Fest of political processes. I got home late that night. First of all, it doesn't even start till 8:00.
Yeah,
okay,
like,
which is insane.
it was like 1 o'clock in the morning and still nothing had happened.
So the impetus, right? So the impetus behind this is that Iowa decided to get fancy this year. The Democratic Party and Iowa decided to get fancy and try to, even though caucusing in and of itself is a very sort of old-fashioned way to do things, people just stand in a cluster and like go different places. They decided to digitize this and put this in an app. The app crashed. They could, even though physically a human being could have went around and counted all these votes and probably did it like by themselves that night. They wanted to streamline all this stuff into an app. So you had different Democratic team leads, for lack of a better word, campaign headquarter people calling the main Democratic Party number, trying to report results, but couldn't do it. They were on hold. One person leaked it to the media, like, I've been on hold for an hour, nobody's answering me. Van Jones was on CNN at like 11 o'clock. Like, I'm getting tweets from people in Iowa talking about they try to report results and they can't do it. This is a cluster. 45. You want to talk about fun? 45 gets on there is like, I mean, how can you trust anything in the Democratic Party? They don't know what they're doing. Like, I'm going to win. And I'm about to get acquitted next week because this is before his acquittal. So to your point, it took 3 days. Now, let's talk about the result. Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders neck and neck. Mm-hmm. It's basically a statistical tie.
Yeah.
So big win for Buttigieg. We've talked about him. Mm-hmm. Big win for Bernie Sanders. So they're the New Hampshire primary is on Tuesday. They had a debate on Friday. I missed all of that debate. I think Friday is a horrible time to have a debate, but whatever. So they're going to carry some momentum into that. Guess who didn't have a good night by process of elimination? Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
And who really didn't have a good night? Uncle Joe. Mm-hmm. This is crisis mode right now.
So I will tell you, though, I've been reading up on some of the polls in the different states.
Okay.
They're going into New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Uncle Joe ain't looking good.
And
it is literally Sanders +7 on 2 polls and Buttigieg +1 on another.
Go ahead.
He's like slacking behind those two in every poll for the
that is a disaster for Uncle Joe. And here's why. So it's assumed that he's going to perform a lot better in South Carolina, which we've talked about it. And every time it just boils my blood. The loyalty that our fellow black people are showing him in the South. It's like, why? But anyway, well, we know why. Whatever. That's a disaster for Uncle Joe in New Hampshire, though, because, okay, Bernie Sanders, you expect to perform well there because he's from Vermont. Joe Biden is from Delaware. So this is New England. Like, this is your backyard. If anything, you and Bernie Sanders should be splitting votes, but that's it. Buttigieg is from the Midwest. Mm-hmm. So how is he beating you up there? So, yeah, you can depend on those black people in South Carolina all you want. But, and he knows it because he came out. I'll give him credit. He came out and said, look, I'm disappointed in how we performed in Iowa. Although in that same speech, he did what quarterbacks in the NFL do, which I can't stand. We as an organization need to do better. Just like when the quarterback goes out there and throws 4 interceptions and then gets to the podium and says, we need to stop turning the ball. You need to stop turning the ball over. Okay? Joe Biden, you as an organization, you need to stop getting up there, acting like you don't know what you're talking about half the time and making all these gaffes and focus. Okay? And that's it. So we'll see.
31 points in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And Steyer has 18.5.
Crazy. Again,
that's crazy. And he's
ask
going well in Nevada too. So
ask them why they're voting for him. Like, whatever.
I don't know.
Whatever.
One more political note before we move on to entertainment.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about the seat for Elijah Cummings for the 7th Congressional District in Maryland. Mm-hmm. They did have the primary election, the special primary election. So as if, pretty much everybody felt like Kweisi Mfume would get the Democratic nominee. So he did. And his wife, forgot her name. She came in second, but she only had like 17.5.
You talking about Cummings' wife?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maya Rockmore Cummings.
Yes. Sorry. I knew it was like a hyphenated.
Yeah. I don't even know why I forgot that. That's crazy. She got 17% of the vote.
Okay.
Kwesi Mfume got 43%.
Yeah.
The Republican primary was won by a young Black female who, Kimberly Classic, who became famous because she's been on Fox News a lot and been going around, and she was kind of the one that prompted Donald Trump to describe Baltimore as a disgusting rat and rodent infested mess. So she got the Republican nomination, and the general election for that will be in April.
Okay.
April 28th, and then that person will resume the seat for the rest of this particular.
So until November,
right? And then they have to. There's another election.
Yeah, because I mean it's every 2 years for them,
right?
And then I know you said one more story, but we laughed about this, and this must be included. And if you can pull it up so that I might need you to read it verbatim.
The tweet.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Cory Booker is gone.
So Cory Booker has dropped out, and we felt, a bunch of people have dropped out since then, but we spent some time on Cory Booker.
Yeah, we felt like, why was he even in it?
Yeah,
like, go
and
away.
He took, for him to drop out a month or two after Kamala Harris is insane. She was leading him the whole time.
Yeah.
So anyway, I kind of felt bad after what we're about to talk about, because we've had some fun with Cory Booker, but never to this extent. Shan, would you like to read what our commander-in-chief said the moment he found out that Cory Booker dropped out of this race?
Sure, I would love to quote. Really big breaking news, kidding in parentheses. Booker, who was in 0 polling territory, just dropped out of the Democratic presidential primary race. Now I can rest easy tonight. I was so concerned that I would someday have to go head to head with him.
I'm sorry, man.
I hate that I laugh at this man. That's bars.
I hate that I laugh at him. I hate
Those
that we even
bars.
gave him press, but I had to do it. It was like when he said that thing about Hillary Clinton's campaign being awake.
Which is in our best of episode.
Yes, it is. I read that tweet at least 5 times that day. Every time I felt like laughing. That was so damn disrespectful. Like, the Secret Service needs to keep an eye on Cory Booker if that was me, because I'd be like, Slim, you and I need to talk outside.
See, this is why I love Twitter, because for the comments, stay classy, you fluorescent tangerine homunculus. Like, where else do you see this type of rhetoric?
That's Cory Booker's cousin. I don't get, look, 45, all that's true about him, but that was a bar. I was laughing. My man said I can rest easy. Anyway, so that's all the political news we have for tape today.
And moving on.
Entertainment.
So Shaka.
Yes, ma'am.
When you are dating or in relationships, are you the type of man that likes to make sure your woman smells good by buying her a nice bottle of fragrance?
I have done it.
You've done that?
Yes.
Yes. I have done that as well.
Yeah.
When you're with someone there, you like them to smell the way you like them to smell.
Well, I'll put it this way. Nothing's better than doing that, and then they liking that fragrance and wearing it for you as well.
Even if they don't like it, they're going to make sure they wear it when they're around you.
So that's cool too.
Yeah, well, Erykah Badu has decided that she's going to make a perfume that smells like her vajay.
Only Erykah Badu would do this. This is the kind of stuff that explains why men go crazy after dating Erykah Badu.
They all done lost it.
Because whatever thought process drove this must be her thought process all the time. So I couldn't imagine dating her. But it must be fire.
This is a quote. And this goes quite perfectly with what you just said. There's an urban legend that my pussy changes men. The men that I fall in love with and fall in love with me change jobs and lives.
That's great. Wow. Thank you for, I knew nothing of that quote, but she is 100% correct. Common wasn't the same.
Common been a thotty ever since.
Common was all like kind of good guy before that. Yeah, he's like out here now. Andre 3000 was never like the absolute 100% normal dude, but like he went extra crazy after her. Yeah.
Yeah, she talks about a little bit about the process of making the
Oh
fragrance.
my gosh.
She took a lot of pairs of her panties and cut them up in little pieces and burned them, even threw some ash in it.
Oh my goodness.
So, and because she doesn't wear underwear anymore, she didn't mind giving them up. So she just, put them in there. So that should be interesting. I don't know if anyone will be buying it, but if they do, God bless them.
There's some freaky, crazy people out there. They're gonna buy it. She got some market research, so this is going to be purchased.
And you can get some incense as well that smells like Badusi. So keep your eyes out open for that.
Moving on.
So also while we were on break, the Grammys happened.
Yes.
Billie Eilish won every category every important category there was.
Yeah, he cleaned up.
She cleaned up.
Sorry, I'm thinking it's mine.
Which is, it's funny because I've heard of Billie Eilish, like her appearance is very like kind of like punk, like not, she just wears these suits with different color hair. Like her voice sounds nothing like she looks.
Mm-hmm.
That chick can sing.
Okay, look at you.
She
giving her the props.
So
these awards were deserved.
I don't know if they would deserve, but she can sing.
No, okay.
I mean, there are other people. I want to shout out my girl Chelsea Green. She played in the Lizzo orchestra at the Grammys. So that was really nice. Cool. Lizzo's performance was very good. She had a portion in the middle where she had plus size ballet dancers. Oh, okay. It was very nice.
Yeah, because you were kind of clubbing for Saturday Night Live. So this was a good rebound from that.
I like the optics.
Okay.
I still think she shouts too much. Like,
all right.
I want to hear her actually just sing and not shout into the mic. Our favorite host was back. No makeup and all.
Oh, Alicia.
Except this year there was no first lady to disrespect. So that was
right.
Good.
Yeah.
She did disrespect the sanctity of It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday, that Boyz II Men sings so perfectly well and didn't need her help to destroy.
Wow. Wait a minute. What is your position on her talent?
She can't sing.
Cannot?
Hell no. She sings off key all the time.
Wow.
She literally is off pitch, even on the recordings. I don't get it. Wow. Like, it's so bad.
Okay.
And juxtapose that with somebody like her, who plays the piano, plays several instruments, and is like fire.
Okay. I'm glad.
Like, when I see her, I'm like, this is what Alicia Keys was supposed to be.
I hadn't really asked you. I'm glad we got it out.
And she performed on the Grammys too. Her performance was excellent. Okay. I loved it. A lot of people gave Alicia Keys a pass because it was doing a tribute to Kobe Bryant, because the Grammys were at the Staples Center. I heard about that, yeah.
But you're saying, but
nah, you don't get a pass for like singing the wrong note. While you got three legends who got three of the best voices this planet has ever seen, and you gonna stand in there and just like sing the wrong note. Like, what key you in, girl? Get out of here.
I saw in there she's supposed to be up here in April, so I guess count you out of that concert.
Nah.
Okay.
I ain't liked her since I didn't know her. All right. So the Grammys were interesting. A lot of people felt that Ariana Grande was snubbed. She has some good stuff. Like, I think with the Grammys, and it's a lot like the Oscars.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of people that are voting on things. Well, no. Well, let me bring that back, because with the Grammys, like, there are different Grammy organizations throughout the country.
Yep.
There's one in DC. There's one, you can be a part of the organization. You can be an artist, writer, whatever. Mm-hmm. People who are like paying members of the Grammy Foundation do get voting. Like, I have friends who have voting rights. Okay. So I won't put them in the same category with the Oscars. But I think the overall thing of it is, like, they seem to like just latch on to one. Like, if this one artist wins the first big award, they win all of them. It's like no type of disparity between the categories.
I think we're going to see that in the Oscars too, and we'll get to it. But I think the Oscars can be like that sometimes too. And in that way, in film, it's like, okay, if you win like the SAG and the BAFTA and all that, and you build that momentum, then I don't know when the timing of the votes are, but it just seems like no one wants to buck the trend. You just made me think of a Grammy story real quick. I apologize. I've forgotten it before we.
I don't know why you say real quick.
No, I'm saying real quick because it's going to be a quick. I'm about to ask you a question. Did you hear about the backlash with Mace and Puff? Based on or Diddy, whatever. Based on Diddy's Grammy speech?
Man, it's always gonna be Puff.
Yeah, it's Puff.
What Grammy speech?
So he made a speech at the Grammy. I thought he made, or maybe they didn't televise it, but he made a speech talking about like recording rights and money and masters and all this stuff.
Maybe it was one of those sidebar moments because I mean,
Okay.
correct me, y'all listeners, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't see Puff at all during the Grammys.
Okay, well maybe they didn't televise it, but
Yeah.
he definitely went on basically a rant talking about like the music industry and how they screw over, especially like rappers and black artists. So then he does this. So then Mace,
But he's the man that does it to everyone.
Mace comes out and sends a tweet about like all the stuff Puff did and all the rights, and then he puts it out there specifically that he, being Mace, tried to buy back his rights for something like $2 million, and Puff was like, "Oh no, I already sold it to like someone else."
Let me tell you something.
And put all that happened this week.
He should be the last person that talks about that subject.
Yeah,
Because look at the list of people that came through Bad Boy.
Yeah.
And where are they now?
yeah. Now look, I'll dig more into it. I thought I certainly didn't watch the Grammy, so I thought it had been shown. So if there's any correction to be made, I'll make it in terms of when this happened. But it did happen.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And it was this week.
My last comment about the Grammys, I did mention Prince earlier. There was yet another Prince tribute, this time done by Usher.
You don't sound too pleased about that.
Look, I respect Usher for his lane, what he does
Okay.
as an artist who has stood the test of time. Like we remember Usher, he's our age. We don't need you doing Prince tributes, bro.
So what is your position on his talent in general?
I think he's talented. I don't hate him as a singer. I think what I appreciate about people like Usher, Justin Timberlake, people like that, they know their boundaries.
Okay.
They stay in their lanes vocally. They don't try to be something they're not. Like if you are Alicia Keys, you shouldn't be out here trying to cover Patti LaBelle.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Or me. Like I shouldn't be out here trying to cover nobody like Patti LaBelle, Whitney Houston, anybody.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he, for the most part, stays his lane. He works within what he has. Now, this Prince tribute was just not good.
Wasn't long?
It was long. He did like a medley. He was like doing like James Brown's dances. He was dressed like Prince.
Oh wow.
He had the like shirt with the
glitter,
blouse and the collar, and he was singing, and he did Kiss.
Okay.
And I was like, oh no.
You just weren't feeling it.
I just wasn't feeling it. No, baby, no.
What was the reaction? Did people like it?
I don't really know. I didn't see anything about it. I don't know. Like, a lot of people were talking about Demi Lovato. She sang. It was a very emotional kind of thing for her. Because, she's been a drug addict now for a long time, in and out of rehab. I think she's in a really good space now. She has an album coming out. Her voice didn't sound so great, but it didn't matter because the emotion behind the song was there. Like, you could feel like what she was trying to do. I mean, there was some cute moments, like the director of the Grammys, who's not doing it anymore. He's been there for like 40 years or something like that. He had like people from different eras come up and perform. But it was definitely good, but Usher just didn't do it for me. I was just like, wow, bro.
I mean, from the outside looking in, to me, Usher, and I think he's even said it, that he's more of a comparison with like Michael Jackson because he dances and stuff.
Right.
I think Prince is not a good string for him, but I didn't see it, so. All right.
Yeah.
But in general, did you enjoy the show?
In general, yeah.
All right, cool.
I think they could up the ante on performances.
Yeah. From now to the end of time, you can always give me updates on the Grammys because I'll never watch them. That's one of the few I don't watch.
Sheila E. was there, but that was good.
Yeah,
that's
like
good.
her.
When she's there, I'm good.
That's cool.
Moving on.
Got a couple movie updates. A couple films have come out. I'll spend very little time on the first one because apparently no one saw it. Birds of Prey came out this weekend, and the only reason I wanted to bring that one up was because we've had a lot of fun talking about Margot Robbie and Jared Leto. So Birds of Prey is the movie by Harley Quinn. Margot Robbie actually produced it, so that's why she's a lot more prominent. It was very good. I liked it. We've also talked about Ewan McGregor a lot. He was very good in this movie. He played Black Mask.
That dude out here getting paid.
Yes, he is. He played Black Mask, who is a classic Batman villain, not as well known as the Joker and that kind of stuff, but he's up there. So he did a good job. Justine Smollett, is that Jussie's sister? Is that her name?
Justine.
What's her name? I feel like it's very close. His sister, Jussie Smollett's sister.
Oh yeah, all of their names start with a J. And I don't know why her name is escaping me right now.
I feel like it's very close to his. But anyway, she played Black Canary. She looks spectacular in this movie, and she did a good job. But it was
Journey.
Okay. She was cool in it. So it was good. But yeah, right before we started taping, I got the report of how much it made, 34 million. It was projected to make 55. It was a huge flop. So
a huge flop.
Yes, it was.
At 34 million.
Yeah,
you gotta love America.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I guess if the projection is 55, then I guess so. So we'll see. I thought maybe this might help DC, but it looks like it's hurting more than it's helping. So
the television is helping DC, that's for sure.
Yes, it is. It's
keeping them afloat.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. Jared Leto's probably happy because, they made a big point of leaving him out of the movie. And he seems to be very vindictive about stuff like that. Other movie I saw, on a positive note, Bad Boys for Life. Great. I had a great time, man. Will Smith and Martin you could tell the chemistry was still there. I liked especially how Martin approached this film. He's gotten a lot. They're both older, but he's gotten older and he kind of embraces it in the film. Will Smith really came with it in this film, though.
Mike Lowrey.
Yeah, he really came with it. It's been out for a couple weeks, but I don't like to spoil stuff, and we don't have time for that anyway. It had a couple nice twists in it, but you could tell they had fun doing it, and it was a lot of fun. It was very funny.
Awesome.
So I liked it better than the second one.
Do you know that John Lovitz and Dana Carvey were supposed to play that?
Yes, I did. And that would have been lame as hell.
It would have been tragic. Yeah, it would have ended at the first one.
Yeah, that would have been and independently, I actually like those two, but not for that. Yeah,
not after seeing this.
Yeah, no. Right. It wouldn't work.
It's almost like thinking that Mel Gibson was supposed to be Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, by the way, Lethal Weapon, another one. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah. It's pretty much confirmed. They're gonna do another one. I'm over that at this point. Especially, look, I've defended Mel Gibson's work, but why are they doing that?
He needs a reprieve, I suppose.
I mean, Danny Glover must need some money.
Nah, he all right.
Mel Gibson does not at all.
I don't think either one of them does.
Okay.
So, you know what today is?
What's today?
Well, more like tomorrow. But everybody will be up
midnight.
At midnight tonight trying to figure out who killed Ghost.
Which, I mean, yeah, keep going.
I think people already know. Because actually 50 leaked some clips.
Yes, he did. He is a troll.
He is a troll. My favorite kind. As long as I never have to interact with him, I'm good.
Yeah.
So since we last recorded, Power had begun again. Yeah. And they have started their last 5 episodes.
Yeah.
And I will say, and you've always criticized Power and its writing.
Yeah.
These last episodes have been written really well. Like compared to the entire season before that and some of the other craziness from last season.
I agree.
They did a really good job on these. Specifically the first one, which was about Dre.
Yes.
That one was excellent.
My favorites were the one about Dre and the one about Tommy.
Tommy's was great too.
That one was good. Look, at first when I realized, I mean, clearly once you started watching the first one, you could kind of tell what they were trying to do. So I criticized them last year for doing this whole 5 episode thing. Actually I want to clarify something because you are correct in the sense that a lot of shows do mid-season finales. Mm-hmm. And I didn't necessarily have a problem with that. I had a problem with the fact that they presented it at first like it would be a continuous string, number one. And number two, if you're going to do it, you have 15 episodes. I would have rather you've done 7 and 7, at least. You're kind of just throwing these extra 5 out there. But now that I see the philosophy behind the 5, I can at least understand why they put them apart, because basically it's 5 vantage points of the same time period. Was
like a
that
5-episode whodunit?
It's a whodunit. Now, like you said, in the purest sense of whodunit, like whatever, like come on. But if you wanted to just use it as a vehicle to give these 5 points of views, yes, it was very well written in that sense. Stuff makes sense. That's my biggest criticism of Power. And they addressed it with these last 5. People were doing things that you understood why they were doing them. That's all. Is that too much to ask? Did you have to wait to the end to do that? But no. So what? A lot of people didn't like the one about the sister.
I didn't like the actress.
Yeah, she's not. She's been in other stuff.
I've never liked her in anything that she's in, and I can't believe she's 38 years old. I cannot believe that.
She looks older than that.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm 38.
That lady's younger than I am. That is ridiculous.
Oh, wait. You're talking about the actress?
Yes.
You said, right. I'm sorry. I misheard you. Yes. Yeah. She looks old as dirt.
I thought she was at least 50.
Yeah. Right. And maybe she's the only one I don't like, even though the episode itself and the episodes have been well written. She was unnecessary.
Yeah, I didn't need her whole story about how did she come up in truth like that, holding a gun and nobody see her? Like some of the stuff from her. I mean, a lot of what Power is far-fetched.
They forced her.
But her story, we didn't need it. The actress is horrible. All she did was pout and complain the entire episode. It was just like, why are you so angry now? Like, with her, them playing out her character, it just didn't make sense how angry she was and why she was so hell-bent on killing him.
Right. Like, and ironically, that's an excellent point. Ironically, that was one of my biggest problems with the finale was, why is the sister so upset? So you should have used this episode to explain that. And I don't feel like they did. But, Tommy, so he kind of teased it, the actor, that this was setting up the hat he put in the Twitter thing
on Instagram.
So I would watch that.
Oh, definitely.
Him in LA.
I
definitely would watch that.
As just an actor, I would watch.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But somebody made a comment on Twitter or whatever. They said Tommy didn't kill like 80 people on that show. He clearly has killed more than anybody else. And
he's killed like 8 on that episode.
Exactly. And he's just walking away from this scot-free. It's kind of racism. Like the only white dude, he's run around just killing everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
He's out here pow pow.
Yeah.
Killed Cedric.
Killed Proctor. Yeah. I mean, now, what did you think of that? Cedric?
I felt like they were just grabbing people and being like, "Do you want to be in?"
Yeah, they could have got somebody different for that.
He ain't no gangster,
right? and even like they kind of try to play up a comedic angle, but it was like, this is dumb. Yeah, I liked Tate's.
His was good too.
I didn't even know. I knew he had one brother. I didn't know he had 2 brothers.
Yeah, he has a younger one. So he's
the younger one was the one I knew about. I didn't know about the one that was on. Is that the younger?
The one that was on there is the older one.
Is the older one. I didn't know
about he was in Don't Be a Menace to South Central.
Sure was. That's
like,
right.
He's the one that you always see in like these little bit roles.
Yeah.
He's actually on All American, which is a great show. I don't know if you've been watching, if you've ever seen that. But when I had a feeling that he was gonna be his brother, like when he kind of like showed up, I was like, excellent. I was glad. I was glad they did that.
That's cool.
But that episode, man. That son of a bitch.
Yeah, Tate. That character has been something. And I'm, at first when Lorenz Tate showed up, I liked Lorenz Tate a lot, but I was like, okay, that's a force, like whatever, what kind of character. I like the way they've written that character and what he's done with it. And that episode was really a culmination. It showed that they understood they had an actor who was capable of portraying a character with that kind of depth, and he did a good job with it.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the episode. Yeah. Like I hate his character just for winning in the end, but it's like his brother said, you always find a way to win.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah, he did. So okay.
But only Tasha and Tariq are left.
Yeah.
And word is that it was Tasha, but
actually, my word was that it was Tariq.
So
okay, is the multiple leak theory like accurate?
Well, apparently they did 2 endings.
Yes.
So okay. I'm just gonna probably get up tomorrow morning and watch it. And we'll find out. It
should have been Cash, man. I would have felt like a genius.
Yeah, it would have made sense.
But
both didn't kill her, so
I legit was spreading that around. People were like, "Yo, I ain't think of that."
Yeah.
Yeah, so I felt proud of myself,
Yeah.
but I guess
it would be legitimate for him to think that Ghost killed
his mom. Yeah.
But we'll see.
We'll see.
So that'll be midnight, and folks will be talking about it tomorrow
With the same music. No Trey Songz.
No
What
Trey
50,
Songz.
what 50 Cent through another wrench and just change the music? He's such a troll. I can see him doing that.
It wouldn't even matter at that point because it ain't no more episodes except for like the prequels,
The
like
prequels.
the Power Book 2, and then they teased about Tommy having his own
So
show.
that'll be a sequel.
Yeah, that would be a sequel.
Yeah.
So you ready to get on some sports?
Always got a lot of big sports stuff.
Biggest thing was the Super Bowl.
Yes. So in general, I guess we'll wrap up the playoffs. I can't say the word. It starts with a C and rhymes.
Oh,
with,
so the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
Congrats. But the Kansas City damn Chiefs won the Super Bowl. My team's arch rival won the
true.
Super Bowl.
I was very happy for my one Kansas City fan, my friend who is a fan, I should say. I texted him before the game. I said, "How you feeling?" He said, "You probably one of the only people that know about how much I love that team." And I was like, "I just had to check on you, see if you're okay." But they won.
Yeah, a friend of mine from St. Albans, my school, his dad was the center, not anymore, but was the center from Missouri. So he grew up here, but he's a Kansas City fan, so I shouted him out. That was cathartic for me. Sam.
It's in Missouri. It's not in Kansas.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, according to, it is what the president says it is, right? And then, people...
They were defending it.
I was about to say.
Somebody in your feed defending it.
Yes.
Talking about,
somebody I used to work with.
Well, the people in Kansas City, in Kansas City, Kansas, root for them too, blah, blah, blah. No, Arrowhead Stadium is in fucking Missouri.
The president of the United States claimed the wrong state of a city. Like, look it up for 2 seconds. Even if you don't know, you're an idiot. And the people defending him are idiots. Like, what are you talking? What's wrong with saying it's not like he's going to get a piece for it?
No.
He don't even get a piece for crimes or get convicted of crimes. So whatever. Just say, oh, you know what? He made a mistake. They can't even say it.
Yo, people from Kansas want that team to be in Kansas so bad that they were like, "Oh, it's okay if you said that. We root for him too." No, it's not okay. Yeah. It's in Missouri.
You know what I heard? Oh, they're like 10 miles apart. So what? They're in a different state.
Right.
And they know that. Again, the reason my friend roots for them is because his dad's from Missouri and was the senator of Missouri. So whatever. Okay? This is ridiculous. But anyway, so
any
they
thoughts
won.
about the game?
I actually only caught half of it. Kyle Shanahan is still catching smoke for how he called basically, I guess, the fourth quarter of that game.
Yeah, he stopped running the ball.
Reminiscent of his time as OC for the Falcons.
I don't understand.
And how he blew that lead in the Super Bowl.
28-3 has been popping up everywhere.
And they were asking him about it before the game. So after, he's still catching smoke. Look, Patrick Mahomes, I mean, you can't script a better start to your career than that. He's his first year. I mean, technically, this is his third year in the league, but his first year starting, he wins the MVP, goes to the AFC Championship, loses a very close game to New England. Second year comes in, doesn't have an MVP as much of an MVP season as he did last year, but he still had a good season, especially. I feel like the game against the Raiders was the turning point for the Chiefs. They were struggling up to that point. I mean, they were still scoring and stuff, but we went into that game thinking we had an opportunity. They crushed us and then kept going.
Yeah, I had partially written them off for the season.
Yeah, and I on this podcast 3 episodes ago said, "Oh, well, the Chiefs are going to playoffs, but they're not going to the Super Bowl. They're not going to win it." Yeah, right. So Andy Reid, congratulations to him. Obviously, good connection with you, old coach for Philly. So good to see him get one.
Yeah, it's good to see him get one.
Yeah,
I think it's definitely cements his legacy. He's like the 6th winningest coach ever, and he didn't have a Super Bowl.
So that cements it.
But for me, I just kind of felt like people were expecting me to be like, "Oh, I know you're going to root for Kansas City because Andy Reid." Yeah, no, he ain't our coach no more. Like, I feel like when people leave the team, they gone. Like,
they ain't listen to the show and realize who the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers was.
Exactly.
I mean,
Jimmy G. Like, what are you doing?
So
Andy, thanks for 12 years, but Jimmy G.
So can we talk about Jimmy G real quick?
Let's talk about Jimmy.
I mean, He didn't really have to do much in the playoffs before that. The 49ers ran the ball and ran it very well. Now, he didn't struggle, but whatever. So let's talk about him in the Super Bowl.
There were a couple times when I was just like, why didn't you just take the sack?
Yes. Yeah.
The first interception.
Yep.
Just take the sack.
That was a bad one.
Just take the sack.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and say he's not a good quarterback because he is. I think he kind of went the way that the coaching went.
Yeah.
I won't put it on him. I think there were times when I was just like, I think he's just doing what he's told. Like he's not in the point of his career where he can have a Peyton Manning moment and say, you know, I'm just going to call it plays.
Correct. I mean, this is his first year starting the entire season.
Yeah. And I don't feel as bad for him for losing because he already has 2 rings. But I do believe that it's like the Steve Young situation. It's important to get one as the starter.
Absolutely. It's interesting. You said that, especially in that organization.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta get one.
It's the Steve Young thing all over again.
You got a bunch of ghosts in that quarterback hall that you got to live up to. So, but he has his money. Again, this is kind of culmination of my take. I think he was a lot more comfortable this year than he would have been last year on the brink of that contract. So we'll see how he progresses. Hopefully Kyle learns something from this and continues. The defense isn't going anywhere, so they're still going to be good.
Yeah, they'll be awesome. Like, I guess my main thing with them, and I said it already, is they just stopped running the ball. They just stopped running the ball.
Awful decision. Real quick note about the Chiefs. Eric Bieniemy is their offensive coordinator. He ostensibly got some head coaching interviews, but then was not hired. So we can maybe segue, unless you have anything else in the Super Bowl, to some just general NFL wrap up.
Oh, except that I'm excited that Shady McCoy got a ring, even though he did not step foot on the field. But I feel like at the very least he should have one because the Eagles did him so dirty.
Yeah, I'll sound like a hater. I'm not excited that Tyreek Hill got a ring.
Yeah. Well.
So, you know, and that I'm not going to hide from that because we talked about him on the show and what he did to his son and his girlfriend. So, whatever. But anyway, okay. Eric Bieniemy. So there were, obviously, we can now broaden to the whole NFL wrap up. We can start with the playoffs and then I'll get back to Eric Bieniemy. Let's do that.
Really not much to say about the playoffs.
Tennessee Titans had a good run.
They had a great run.
Yes.
If you didn't know who Derrick Henry was before, you do now.
The Mack truck.
I drafted him in my fantasy.
Nice.
Because I be knowing.
Yeah.
But
and look, we had some fun with Ryan Tannehill, but he rode that wave.
And he got comeback player of the year at the NFL honors. And let me just, I didn't have a problem with much of the NFL honors. Mm-hmm. But how does Christian McCaffrey not win offensive player of the year? I don't have any problem with Michael Thomas.
Okay, I was about to ask who.
I think he's a pretty good wide receiver.
Yeah.
But how does Christian McCaffrey not win that? That is the only award that bothered me.
So I can't believe I'm saying this. And I agree with you in general about Christian McCaffrey. I believe Michael Thomas broke some kind of record for either yards or something like that.
I don't care what you broke.
Okay. And look, I was the main one. Like, I was tripping when he was holding out. But to me, he's a very, very, very good receiver, obviously. But yeah. So maybe I think statistically is what they just looked at. I think Christian McCaffrey is a better player and was asked to do more. But that's the other thing too. The Saints were better. So Carolina wasn't getting a lot of pub. So poor Christian McCaffrey in that respect.
The Saints went out one and done. That was a shock.
Breeze, I think, still is kind of letting it float out there that he's contemplating retirement.
Yeah.
So that was a shock. Feel bad for him. He didn't play badly, but he didn't have his best game there. So he can wear some of that as well. New England lost to Tennessee. Tennessee did exactly what everybody thought the only way they could beat them would, and they did it. And it basically airmailed the plans. We're gonna run right over you.
And like at no point did the Patriots stop him from running.
Stop him.
Like it was like
I felt like they couldn't. They just couldn't.
They didn't make any changes.
Look, he's running them over.
And
it's just like what they gonna do?
He did the same thing to the Ravens.
Yeah,
I didn't get that either. I'd never seen, and I posted this. I'd never seen John Harbaugh get out coached so badly.
Yeah. But and I agree with you. There were a lot of decisions he made that I disagree with, especially on offense. And Lamar Jackson, speaking of NFL honors, did take the MVP unanimously,
as he should have.
With that being said, if Derrick Henry is running people over, I agree schematically, maybe just try something new. But at the end of the day, it just looked like he was just running people over. I mean, that's all it was. The only way I guess you could beat that is by putting up some points offensively so that you can, change the pace of the game. So hopefully they just didn't do that.
And what's interesting about that, too, is that Kansas City, out of all the teams in the playoffs, specifically in the AFC, had the worst defense.
Correct.
But they were able to stop them.
That was my problem with Kansas City, actually. They were able to stop them, but I actually also think, I'm not going to say our coach, but I think Vrabel made some mistakes in that game. He made some mistakes akin to what San Fran did, especially towards in the third and beginning of the fourth quarter.
Afraid of prosperity.
Yes, I think the moment crushed them a little bit. And Kansas City, again, they're one of those offenses that they can score points quickly. And so if you don't keep your head and stick with the plan, you can kind of outsmart yourself when you play them. So Seattle, you guys, I mean, any final thoughts on the Eagles?
They need some wide receivers.
Mm-hmm. Badly.
They played with 2.5 tight ends and like some wide receivers. Again, we picked up at Wawa.
Jalen Mills still on the team?
Yeah, he's still on the
I
team.
always got to ask.
But we did get a new defensive back coach. We pulled him out of Atlanta.
Okay. Okay. You excited about that? Because Atlanta hasn't shown me a lot defensively lately.
Yeah, well, you gotta do what you're gonna do.
Yeah, look, it's a change, right? Just change it
up. You could put me in there, and our secondary probably be better. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and we don't need to go around the rest of the league. I think we wrapped it up pretty nicely in terms of before the playoffs started. So the only scuttle I'll add about my Raiders, though, is Tom Brady has been linked to us. Did you hear that?
I've been hearing that all week.
Yep. Apparently, he and Giselle, they sold their house in New England, and they moved to Vegas. I mean, probably one amongst many houses, but they moved to Las Vegas. Now, the other piece of that, first of all, we let it leak they were trying to get him. So I'm still not sure what the purpose of that strategically was, except to motivate Derek Carr. That was my first thought. And then I hear a story then, we're out here. Sham, this was the tenor of the story. The tenor of the story said that we're out here talking nice about Derek Carr and talking about what a great guy he is so that we could trade him, which is kind of rude.
And that's what Raider Nation has been talking about on Twitter. You don't want to talk to them.
Yeah, because they get me emotional. But yes, so we are... there's enough smoke there that there's a fire there. Clearly, we're interested in him. Clearly, he is open to talking to us if New England does not bring him back. So,
before we move on, I do have a little bit of beef with my Eagles.
Go ahead.
So, Doug has decided he's not going to have an OC this year.
Oh, he's calling the plays.
Well, he's been calling plays, so it doesn't even matter. Like, that's what he calls the plays. He has promoted the quarterback's coach, who is still the quarterback's coach, but gave him an additional title, passing game coordinator.
Oh, God.
Look.
I hate this kind of stuff.
Press Taylor was promoted to quarterback's coach after our quarterback's coach was promoted. Was it Juan DeFilippo that left? I don't know.
DeFilippo left, and then there was another guy that we talked about on the show.
Yeah. Okay, I'm getting it all confused. I just want to know how. First of all, Press Taylor has not shown me anything as a quarterback's coach, because Carson Wentz still looks like the same dude that is out there running scared, looking confused, and holding the ball too long.
You kind of lobbed out a word that rhymes with bash a couple of times during the season. And I had to do a double take, including it writing to me a couple of times.
Now this dude is not only the quarterback's coach, now he's the passing game coordinator. So then, okay, your offensive line coach is now the run game coordinator. Okay. Meanwhile, Deuce Staley, still assistant,
Deuce Staley, all right.
still running backs coach, which
Sure.
clearly he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because he taking dudes off the street and they running through seams.
I mean,
But he can't be the offensive coordinator.
Oh.
He's assistant head coach.
oh, you would not even not have a problem. You would lobby for Deuce Staley to get that promotion.
I'm throwing the lob, waiting for the alley oop.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
bruh,
All right.
all these names are swirling around. Meanwhile, you have this guy who's been in your organization. Really, the only successful position coach you have.
Everybody else like, show me what these people have done to get a promotion or even a transfer.
And he's your assistant head coach. But
Yeah.
this dude can't be your OC.
Yeah. Hey. So how do we feel about Doug? You've been, I think, appropriately grateful for his leadership in obviously getting you guys your Super Bowl. But I haven't asked you about how you felt about him in quite some time.
I'm kind of like dumbfounded. I don't know what he's doing. I don't understand this whole like mashup of coaching situations. Like, I feel like he knows how to end a season.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely knows how
I agree.
to end
You
a
guys
season.
end seasons well and push and get in.
He is definitely kind of like clutch in that aspect.
Mhm.
But like, we need a season like we had in 2017, obviously, because we won the Super Bowl. But
Yep.
even if we don't win the Super Bowl again in that fashion, at least give us something from like week 1 to week 17 that we can be proud of.
Yeah.
Like, it's
You-
so confusing.
You know what I'm infinitely glad you brought my attention to, and now I can't unsee it every time I watch the Eagles? The fact that he smiles like for no reason
All
when
the
stuff
time.
is going badly.
All the
Like, what are you smiling about? You out here looking like the Joker on the sideline. Like, stop.
I don't know. We running. Let's move on. I'm off
All
that.
right. So, well, Doug Peterson's not going anywhere, but there have been a few other changes. So I guess we'll start. The Cowboys. I feel like we taped when that happened, but
It didn't happen yet.
okay, it was linked.
It was
Yeah,
about to happen.
It was basically happening. Yeah. So the Cowboys hired Mike McCarthy. McCarthy is keeping his OC, keeping their OC, Kellen Moore. So
I mean,
good-
they'll see
good
it.
hi-
No problem.
yeah. No,
Their
he
offense,
wasn't.
they had the best offense in the NFL.
Yards.
Well,
Yeah,
the
because
numbers.
there were some games they were not scoring points.
The numbers were say
Yeah.
that they did.
Yards. See, again, empty stat.
Right.
Empty stat. But that's fine. McCarthy probably is like, look, I'll put my imprint on it. You just keep the scheme and we'll go from there. Good hire for them. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Mike McCarthy shouldn't have been.
He should not have
unemployed.
been unemployed. So lucky for them, they scooped him up. I mean, Rooney Rule, and this is where I'm going with the Eric Bieniemy thing. So they brought in Marvin Lewis, and Marvin Lewis, to his everlasting shame, in my opinion, basically like gave them cover and was like, "Oh no, I think it was a legit." No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Like, you or Mike McCarthy? I would hire Mike McCarthy over you. What are you talking about? Eric Bieniemy and Saleh, I forget his first name, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, who at minimum is at least mixed.
Robert Saleh.
Robert, thank you. Their names were floated out there a lot for these coaching changes, but they weren't brought in. The rest, and it's a shame. Eric Bieniemy, this is the insult that drove me up a wall. People were like, well, Eric Bieniemy doesn't do anything. Andy Reid is the mastermind behind the scheme. Excuse me? So under that logic, then why in the world did the Giants hire New England's wide receivers coach?
Joe Judge.
Yes, to be their head coach. The Giants. When did the Giants become this much of a dumpster fire joke that they did it? And our friends,
Since they fired Tom Coughlin.
exactly. And our New York Giants friends, well, one of them, to his credit, was like, "What are we doing?" But everybody else is like, "Oh, he's bringing in all these people." They brought in Freddie Kitchens, and tried to laud that as an accomplishment. So that's them.
No, they brought in Jason Garrett as their offensive coordinator.
Which I think is
Hilarious.
a spectacular troll. Although I did forget he did play for them.
Yeah.
So I guess there's some connection there. But I told them, y'all are one head coach like one rookie head coach mistake away from Jason Garrett taking over and being your coach. So how's that?
I really think that's what's going to happen.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
That's why they did it.
Exactly. So what are we talking about? Speaking of Tom Coughlin, not necessarily a coaching change, but he got completely nuked by this report from the Jaguars or by the NFLPA. I thought that was very interesting. 24% of the grievances filed in the league for players against organizations came from the Jaguars. So the owner had enough there. So Tom Coughlin is out
and
as the president.
Jay Gruden as their offensive coordinator.
Yes, they did. Now, where did Jay Gruden come from?
The Washington Redskins.
The Washington Redskins, who actually made a very excellent hire. We were joking about it on the show, like, you brought in Ron Rivera and he's not hired. What's the problem? Well, apparently it just took longer than we thought.
They got a whole overall. Jack Del Rio is a defensive coordinator.
Yes, I like that move. He coached us in the Raiders, and obviously we had success under him. I like him as a DC. He was DC for Denver when they won the Super Bowl. So good move there. Ron Rivera has put his imprint on the organization. They brought in, so they've shuffled the organization around a little bit, and I felt like we should spend a little time on that. We talked about Doug Williams a lot. He has been moved out of the role. I forget the title that he has now, but he basically answers to Ron Rivera.
Good job.
Yeah, I think it's like a personnel thing or something. So Ron Rivera is pretty much, besides Daniel Snyder, like show running the Washington Redskins.
As he should.
Yeah. They also brought in some capologists from Carolina. So he brought some people from Carolina to help him with Washington. So good hire for the Redskins. I mean, nothing more to say about that, unless it crashes and burns, which a lot of times it does with them. Anybody I'm missing? Oh, Cleveland. Who they end up bringing in?
Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah, never heard of him. Freddie Kitchens got fired, as we thought.
As you thought.
Well, I think we both thought it. You disagree with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
So
they got a whole new, again.
Yeah. So that's them. Anybody?
But didn't they bring in a GM too?
Yes.
That guy.
They brought in a GM who apparently was an agent.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So they're kind of they're doing Cleveland. They're doing the same type of stuff.
Cleveland does not rock.
Right. Bill O'Brien got a promotion. He's now officially the GM. Whatever.
You hate him.
I do not like him being the coach. Correct. Anybody we're missing? No, I think that's, you know what? It felt like there would be a ton of changes, and then there weren't. Matt Flynn did not get fired. Or not Matt Flynn. Dan Quinn. Not Matt Flynn. He's quarterback.
No, Dan Quinn's still there.
Dan Quinn is still there. Guess who else is still there? Oh, we talked about this. Patricia. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay. Two guys who I thought should be gone kept it. So, okay, fine.
And I believe our defensive back coach is now his defensive coordinator in Detroit.
Oh, and Marone kept his job.
Yeah.
In Jacksonville. Yeah. So, I mean, a bunch of people who should have been out of there.
Right. When it was announced that our defensive back coach was getting hired by Detroit, I was like, good riddance. Our defensive backs
they're trash.
They're trash. Our secondary sucks.
It's like, what are you doing?
Take this Bama.
Yeah, take them. That's fine.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, okay, no problem. One good news, Anthony Flynn for the Chargers actually got an extension.
He did get an extension.
He got an extension.
They paid him up.
And Phillip Rivers is sounding like he's
trying to go to Tampa.
Out of there.
He moving to Tampa.
Yes. Oh, and speaking of Tampa, man, okay, I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes, but this was hilarious. Did you hear what Bruce Arians basically said about Jameis Winston? I thought that was great.
I think you should tell it.
They said, so I forget the context of the question, but basically, like, you know, if you guys draft a quarterback, like, you think you could go to the playoffs next year? My man said, if we could win, how many games? 7? If we could win 7 quarterbacks with this quarterback, of course we can. And said this quarterback as if, like, this piece of trash. Yeah. And said it like with like the gangster swagger that Bruce Arians always has. So I don't see how Jameis Winston can continue to be the quarterback after that. But that's just me.
I don't understand.
Yeah. So
he gets
it's
chance
ridiculous.
after chance. He would have been benched by now by so many other coaches.
And last time we were talking about him, he was on the verge of 30 interceptions, and he surpassed that.
I cracked up when I saw it.
Yeah, you thought about me like, I was waiting for that one. Yeah. All right.
He didn't disappoint.
So successful NFL season. My Raiders have officially changed their name.
Las Vegas Raiders.
And I will keep you updated. A friend of ours, Calvin, is kind of show running a trip, he may be able to hook us up with some rooms.
I can hook myself up with a room.
Oh, okay.
But thanks.
Looks like we're on two different wavelengths there. All right, no problem. But you're coming at the same time, right?
I hope to come.
All right, cool. All right. I don't have any more NFL stuff.
All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the NBA.
So All-Star Weekend's coming up.
Yes, and they changed the format.
Yes. Is it Giannis and LeBron? Are you talking? What? In what way? Or do you mean? I'm sorry.
Just like every quarter, they're doing like a tribute or some type of charity thing.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Go ahead. Okay. Yeah. Continue. I'll look it up.
Okay. Well, so the teams are Giannis. Giannis is the captain of one. LeBron is the captain of the other. I'm not a fan of this. I haven't been a fan of the whole choosing teams. The NFL did it a couple times with the Pro Bowl, and I didn't like that. LeBron's team is way better.
Yo,
I was like,
that team is going to thump.
I was like, how did this work?
Greek Freak's team looks like trash.
Yes. I was like, what? What was crazy was I saw Giannis's team first. Like, even though they were both side by side, I read the names first, and I was like, wow, they're just letting anybody in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
And then, like, once I saw LeBron's, I was like, oh, this is where all the good people went. Basically, so yeah, they should get thumped. That's not gonna be fun to watch.
All right, here are the teams.
Okay, go ahead.
Team LeBron: Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Nikola Jokic, Damian Lillard, Chris Paul, DeMontis Sabonis, Ben Simmons, Jason Tatum, and Russell Westbrook.
Right.
Jesus.
Right.
Jesus. All right. Here's Greek Freaks team. Joel Embiid.
Okay.
Pascal Siakam.
Right. Like, I respect them, but keep going.
Kimball Walker. Trae Young. Bam Adebayo. Jimmy Butler. Rudy Gobert. Brandon Ingram. Kyle Lowry. Chris Middleton and Donovan Mitchell. Like, look, what are we doing here? Is this JV versus varsity? What are we doing?
You know what that second team sounds like? The team we were making fun of in the basketball championship. Like, what are these people? Like, we know who they are, but like, what are they doing on this team?
Oh my God.
Was Giannis lit? Like, was there a selection show? And if it was he paying attention? Well, I'm sure LeBron was like, why is he not? Okay.
No.
That's ridiculous.
Wow.
I'm not watching any moment of that.
Bron's bench could be starters.
Yes. Like, I'm not watching a second of that game.
I probably won't watch the game. But speaking of the game, let me talk about the format. So every quarter is going to count for charity.
Okay. Nice.
And each quarter is going to start at 0.
Oh.
So the first 3 quarters will begin with the score of 0-0 and will last 12 minutes. At the start of the fourth quarter, the game clock will be turned off and a final target score will be set. So at that point, first team to whatever. So
okay. In
the fourth quarter.
So it's like 33.
Because basically, like, they don't even play till the fourth quarter. So you might as well do it like that. So it'll be like a bunch of Chicago-based charity organizations that each of the first 3 quarters will get money for charity.
Okay.
And so if the team needs to score 24 points, so say the score is like 195 and the target score is set at 124.
Okay.
Whoever gets to 124 first wins the game.
Basically. Got you.
And they plan to do like a bunch of like tributes to Kobe during the game.
Oh yeah. Now, okay. I may watch for that because I know they're going to do a lot of stuff related to Kobe, probably the whole weekend. Kudos, I guess, to the NBA for trying to make the All-Star game interesting. I know a lot of people like it regardless. They've liked it up to this point. I stopped watching the All-Star game a long time ago. Now, we talked a little bit about, so just expanding into the NBA period, we talked a lot about some of the changes coming up. I'm excited. The more I think about it, the more I want this tournament. I know you're not a fan of it, this mid-season tournament. I at least want to see how it goes the first time and how it's going to work. And it sounds like they're going to do it next season. So So that's next season though. But this season, up to this point, Lakers are balling, Bucks are balling. The Clippers, they hit a couple bumps, but they I believe are like 9-1 in their last 10. Portland is still struggling. They're not in the playoffs as of this moment. I want to say Portland is like 10th.
Meanwhile, Dame is out here averaging like 60 points a game.
Right. So you can't pin it on him, but at the same time, I'm very disappointed in what Portland is doing. This is crazy. Like, what? Y'all had success in the playoffs last year. What is the problem? Speaking of problems, Houston, Russ and James Harden. You know, James Harden went for a stretch. It's one thing to say the words 20%. It's another thing to literally have made 20 out of your last 100 3-pointers. Ridiculous. It's like Mike D'Antoni. I'm sorry, man. I know I'd come down a little bit too hard maybe on him a little bit, but you need to coach this team and get them under control.
Yeah, I've caped for him. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's kind of checked out. I think he's going to ride out this last year and keep it moving.
And that's a shame because that's another year wasted for Russ. They better bring somebody good in there.
Russ could have stayed.
I mean, why wouldn't he think this can work though? You know? I mean, I don't like seeing it.
And speaking of Russ, the ovation that he received in Oklahoma,
that was
City,
great.
It was so.
That was a great tribute.
That was
a great tribute.
Excellent.
Yeah,
a far better tribute than KD got.
Well,
he got booed.
Yeah, he got booed. But I'm not one to like kind of jump neck deep in emotional tributes like that. But that was really well done.
It was very good.
I watched it and was like, that was good. You can tell he was it. I don't think he expected it to be that good.
Yeah, he was crying.
Yeah. So that was really good.
Yeah, I didn't even watch the game.
Thanks for reminding me of that because that was a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
I saw that part and I was like, well, I don't need to see the game. This part was great.
Yeah, they lost that game. Houston did.
Of course.
Yeah, they don't play together.
Yeah.
What in the East? Boston is kind of no. You know who's disappointing? Philly. The 76ers. Embiid.
He's a bitch baby.
Oh my! He just drives me up a wall, man.
I stole that from Olivia Pope, but he's a bitch baby.
I can't stand him at this point. Like, he made some comment the other day about shooting threes.
You saw what I posted?
Oh,
I was like,
thank you.
I was sick over that.
What are you talking about?
When ever in the history of Everdom did a center need to stretch the floor by standing out on the 3-point line as much time as he spends out there?
Crazy.
I was literally like, get Hakeem Olajuwon on the phone to check this clown.
Crazy.
Like, what are you saying? Like, I have to do that. No, you don't.
No, you do not.
You are supposed to go from freaking box to freaking free throw line back to the no, this is your area, sir. You ain't supposed to be out here on the wing. Like, get out of here.
That was the thought process that
block free throw line block.
That was the thought process that led you to have 0 points in the game. Ridiculous. Ridiculous in a good way. Jimmy Butler, Miami, that's working out.
Yeah,
he is balling
and
down
he's
there.
looking like a genius.
Yeah,
because the whole situation with Minnesota just fell to pieces this week.
The nuke job he did on what's my man's name?
Cat.
No, not Cat. Recently, when he got into it with Tucker. And they got into it on the court, man.
Oh, Tucker.
Thank you. Jimmy Butler is a gangster. He brought the 90s type NBA back with that whole sequence.
Oh man, I had planned to talk about that.
We were gonna
record last week. I almost forgot all about that.
Yeah, PJ Tucker, is that his name?
PJ Tucker.
Yeah. Listen, Jimmy Butler and they get into it on the court. They're jawing on the court. Then after the game, my man says, listen, he's just mad because he can't check me, period. There's nothing he could do with me. If I was the coach of the other team, I would stop putting him on me because there's nothing he could do with me. And by the way, he's talking about he want to fight me this and fight me that. Like, I will see him whenever. Don't worry about that. I was like, I feel like I'm in the 90s. Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy Butler, for bringing some of that back to the NBA because it was needed. These dudes, speaking of Cat, Joel Embiid out here bear hugging and then getting on Twitter with Twitter figures live, man. Go ahead.
Now
Stop
Cat
it.
talking about I should have had a winning season by now. Well, like Tony Kornheiser said the other day, he said it best. Yeah, you're a good player, but you make zero impact on the game. Yep. All you do is pass stats. You make no impact, and this is why you can't win.
And now we're starting to see why Jimmy Butler was out here kirking on you in practice and in the media. So, and why he took your girl. So
Jimmy Butler out here looking like a prophet.
Yes. I always got to give props to you, Toronto. You called it, and it's still Nick Nurse is out here looking like, hey man, I'm the next big thing coaching wise. What's my man's name in Boston?
Brad
Stevens.
Brad Stevens.
Yeah. That people used to talk that way about him, and Boston is still doing well, but they're not going to win the title. Nick Nurse is out here like, look, maybe I'm not predicting him to win the title, but the point being, he is coaching that team. And you would think after losing Kawhi Leonard, even though it wasn't like acrimonious or anything, but they knew they lost him, that they would just kind of fold up and be like, oh, we got our chip, whatever. No. He's holding them to a high standard. I believe they're 9-1 in the last 10 games, if not 10-0. Because I checked that like 2 days ago, so they could have won something since then. So Toronto's coming; they're not going anywhere. But Milwaukee, obviously, with Greek Freak, is still kings of the East right now, and Lakers still balling too in the West. So any other? I mean, the trade deadline was yesterday, so
there was a lot of trades that happened. It's
a lot. It's a lot that happened.
People were gone.
We may want to do ourselves a favor and let this let it settle, and then maybe we can double back on the next week.
Yeah, and it's before the All-Star.
Yeah, because there was a flurry of stuff
so many
yesterday.
Things happened. The biggest news probably was that Andre Iguodala is with the Heat now.
Yes,
and the players on his team was so disrespectful to him. It was ridiculous.
They were not happy about how he, I guess, just didn't want to play with them.
Yeah, he held out pretty much.
Yeah, but I mean, okay. He's not even there, so just get over it.
Right, don't be mad. Just keep playing. Somebody else is getting some solid minutes because he's not wanting to play with y'all, so just celebrate that.
Just right. Half of y'all wouldn't be playing if he wanted to play.
Right. Get out of here.
He did sign an extension immediately, too. Right. $30 million.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. Okay.
And he old, so
that's what I was like. I was like, damn. I mean, I know AI is good, but all right. And Golden State is still, if not the worst team in the league, at least second worst.
Yeah.
It's the record wise. And I mean, Draymond Green is still out here averaging a triple single, which Charles Barkley, you've had a lot of bars in your career. That's a good one.
And actually, that wasn't PJ Tucker. It was TJ Warren.
PJ Tucker, sorry, because
he was talked about in a trade with
PJ Tucker. You don't want to be anywhere near that story. So it's
exactly.
TJ Warren.
It was TJ Warren.
TJ Warren. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting that.
Called him trash.
I mean, trash.
Called him effing trash.
Yeah, he was not playing. He was cussing and all of that.
Like, who are you?
And he was like, I will fight that dude. And if I'm the coach, don't put him on me. I was like, you just disrespected him in like 5 different ways in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, because if you put him on me, I'm going to destroy him.
Right.
Pretty much. And I'm going to see him outside after that.
Crazy. All right. On to the women.
Yeah, so this is like pretty phenomenal for them because I didn't realize they didn't have a commissioner.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
What kind of clown show is this? Are you serious? For how long? Ever?
So basically, Kathy Engelbert.
Okay.
Maybe she is the commissioner. It said something about like she was their first commissioner. Okay, so she's been the only commissioner. Okay.
Got it.
Oh God, okay. I'm glad. I was like, that didn't even make sense.
That's a bad look right there.
Yeah, because she said something in a statement like as the league's first commissioner. I'm like, wait, you ain't have commissioner before? So basically they have a new 8-year collective bargaining agreement.
Yes. And
they're getting like a 53% increase in compensation.
Yeah, that's major.
The big deal. Major. Now, granted,
still
the highest paid player in the league is only going to get $500,000. Yeah. But that's better than the $80,000
correct
that folks was getting once upon a time. So they're definitely moving in the right direction. The minimum base salary will increase to $215,000.
Yeah.
Right now it's $117,500.
Right. I mean, it's
You can actually live off of
as a professional
athlete, I should say, because
Yeah.
obviously you could live off 117. Like I'd be okay if I made
Right.
that. But I mean, it's just been now. She's like, look, we're trying to have like a player first agenda, which is excellent. And she was also appointed to McDonald's board of directors. I would say.
Okay.
Um,
So, I mean, the important thing about this is that the goal clearly was to prevent what had been happening, and rightfully so, which is that the players weren't getting paid enough, so then they have to go overseas.
mhm.
So you increase their compensation here, you stop that, because really what they were doing was a lot of these players, they would still play, and then they would go overseas and play there because they had to get additional money. And so obviously that causes a lot of problems because then they can get hurt. I mean, it's more wear and tear, all of that. And then some of them are like, screw the WNBA, I'm gonna just stay over there. In China, China just blesses female athletes. There are a few ways in which China is progressive way more than the rest of the world, and that's one of them.
They blessed Stephon Marbury too.
Oh yeah, he lived his best life over there.
Yep.
But with the women though, they admire the women's game and they pay them. So the WNBA understood that they were losing a lot of their best players, or at least compromising a lot of their best players by forcing them to do this. So this is a good move in that respect. And we'll see if that model works. They still see, here's the thing. People keep talking about, oh, well, you know, the attendance. They get the TV money. They're already on TV. That's the money. So this was overdue. This was overdue.
Well, the attendance too
Has been fine.
It has been great, and as we both know, the Washington Mystics attendance is wonderful. And since they're moving to a smaller stadium, they're able to fill it even more. Like that's the thing. You got like 60, not 60, but it's a lot of thousands of seats.
Yeah.
And these games are only getting, only like 12, 15,000 is a lot.
Yeah, most basketball arenas maybe are like 20,000,
20,
15, 20.
I really I turned them into the Dallas
Football.
Cowboys.
Yeah, you turned them football. Yeah.
And they get like, I think 100 if you take all the seats out, something like that.
For college games, Cowboys get
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, the expectation was far too high for them to fill the seats. And now that they're all getting their smaller independent stadiums, they can actually fill them. And I'm just glad for whatever progressions we can make in this league.
Yes.
I'm just happy for it.
And I think we've talked about this many times. The marketing of women's sports in general, but professional women's sports, market the personalities, I have fun with it, but play up the conflict. That's why people like sports and professional sports. They want to see adversarial, they want to see competition, and part of competition, you can feed that.
I feel like they did a great job of that in the beginning, and then they just kind of fell off of it.
You knew the people in the WNBA at the beginning, Cheryl Swoops and all these other people. I mean, you knew people, Lisa Leslie, you knew these people. And they respected each other, but there was genuine competition. They wanted to beat each other. Now, if you don't play that up, it's like this. If the people don't care, why should I? That's how fans feel about any sport. And the women do care, but you have to market that. So anyway, good for them. Good story. We're going to circle back on this one story because we touched on it and then it got exponentially worse after we talked about it. So obviously I was so happy and we were so happy about the Nationals winning and all that basically anything baseball was like covered with that. But then the story about the Astros started like, bubbling to the surface, and you heard about it. And then it was kind of like, okay, well, that sounds bad. Yeah, it was horrible. So the Major League Baseball ended their investigation. That was fast too. It was like what, 3 weeks?
It took them no time.
And then they came out with a report like, yep, they did it. They were like, they did it, and they did it a lot.
What are we doing out here?
Yeah, they were like, they did it a lot. And I believe the report was very succinct, but it was detailed. And they basically they were cheating. They were using technology. They did it in X amount of games. A little caveat about this: there was an Astros fan, and I think his profession is like he's in IT or something. And he was so upset about this that he went back during the 17 season, and he basically tracked every game that they played and then applied it to like some kind of analytic platform and did like a statistical analysis of how much they cheated. And he like posted it. And now,
I'm sure Wilbon loved that.
My favorite part about that was that he was like, and if you're wondering if I have a life, the answer is no. So he was real cool about it. He was real cool about it. But it showed that he showed, I mean, even it actually went beyond what the report said. And they showed them cheating against, I mean, in the regular season. And then they showed, his analysis showed when one of the pitchers, and I forget who it was, of one of the opposing teams during the regular season. So it was like late September, right before the playoffs. It was like, yo, I think they're cheating. Like he spotted it. And you saw it was like one of those kind of analytics we watch. It dropped off. Like when he called them out, they denied it, but then it stopped.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Somebody
and it was
this
jarring. It was jarring. Yeah.
Give this kid a check.
It was jarring.
Or a guy.
So forget the names. Cora is the only name I know. We talked about that. But the GM of the Nationals, the manager of the Nationals, both were fired.
The Astros.
Astros. Did I say Nationals?
Yeah.
Oh, my boys. I'm sorry,
y'all still intact.
We good.
Actually, Carlos Beltran never got a chance to
manage the Mets.
Manage the Mets, like
which I was a little curious about that hire anyway. But anyway, so he's done. Alex Cora is done in Boston, and who knows? I mean, we haven't really heard if they are investigating Boston still. Mm-hmm. So Boston. Look, you can put an asterisk, but they're not going to take the titles. So
they're not going to do that.
Yeah, all the Yankees people are up in arms. The Dodgers people should be up in arms. The Yankees people too. I mean, if it happened in the series, it happened. But the Dodgers should be up in arms because they showed Darvish, all these people, they went into those series like lights out. Clayton Kershaw, poor Clayton Kershaw. I mean, he chokes in the playoffs, but at the same time, leading up to that one, he was doing fine. And then in those games, they were crushing him. And they were cheating.
Was he like 2-11 in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, my Nationals ain't cheat when we beat that out.
And the Yankees, sorry, y'all pitching sucks. So
Thank
you
you.
couldn't stop bats from swinging. So
right.
Don't cry.
Right.
Cry about your pitching staff.
Right. All right.
Did you hear what Hank Aaron had to say about it?
No. What he is a giant. So
yeah,
anything he says, I'm stopping.
He was interviewed this week, and he was like, all of them should be banned from baseball, which I think is a little bit too much.
Who? I don't.
You think so?
Anyone
who be banned for life?
Anyone who participates. So, okay, on top of your comment, did you hear what Pete Rose said?
I did, and I was going to get into that too, because they asked Hank Aaron if he felt like, okay, well, if you feel like this about these people, what do you think? Should Pete Rose be reinstated? And he was like, no. He was like, it's not two and a half and one or the other. It's like, okay, you cheat to this magnitude, you should be out.
So Pete Rose himself submitted a letter to Manfred and said, I should be reinstated. Yeah. Part of the reason, okay, forget the fact that some of the steroids people are about to start getting in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, because I saw
the worm is turning on that.
It is. The old people are getting out.
So he's like, those people are getting in. And he's right. The players have walked completely away from this. Mm-hmm. They're not even getting punished. That's ridiculous. You participated in cheating in a game. Look,
he said, I was just betting on
I was betting.
I didn't like.
And the only reason betting is so bad in baseball is because of the Black Sox scandal, which happened 100 years ago. So it was just one of those things like, it was just such a stigma that, of course, that's like, you can't do it. But at the same time, these people cheating in the game, they're affecting the outcome.
Yeah, he said, I never affected the outcome. I just, I just made money off of it. I get it. Like, look, if you're going to ban, and look, I think it's a little too much to ban everybody. But
anybody who participated.
If you participated and you're going to be banned, then great. If you're not going to be banned, then this dude who has been banned for years and years and years should be reinstated.
Oh, I agree with. So I definitely agree with the second part. I don't think life is too much because, I mean, these were playoff games too. Yeah. I mean, bad enough in the regular season. The playoffs? Like, we're talking titles. Playoffs. You kidding me? That's my Jim. That's some good Jim Moore right there. We miss him. He should be a coach right now. Give us a soundbite. All right. So, bad story there. And that it couldn't have been worse for the Astros. They're going to get the way the players have been talking about them, they're going to get booed in every single stadium this year. So, all right. Finally, something near and dear to your heart. What do we got?
Yeah, NCAA basketball. Look, we're going to keep this short because we're running into about 2 hours, which is great because it's a season premiere.
It's a season premiere.
We're going to keep it all.
I have no issue with that.
So NCAA basketball has been like a hodgepodge of folks. Like there's no clear cut favorite. Like Baylor was number one, then they lose. Like every time somebody's number one, they lose. We lost. Duke lost a couple stupid ones. Like we lost to Clemson, then we lost to like Florida State. It was just bad.
Yeah.
I will say this though, it's rivalry week tonight. Duke plays Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That flew under my radar.
So you know what I brought up last year when Kentucky played Evansville?
Yeah.
And we talked about Walter McCarty being the coach. Do you know he got brought up on sexual assault charges?
I did not.
Yeah, he's being investigated.
Okay.
So that's the story.
Was that this week?
It was a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
So that's a story I'm gonna keep my eye on, and I'm gonna fill everybody in one.
Can I get a Duke note in it? Unless you were about to get to it. An offshoot of the Kobe Bryant thing. Obviously, Coach K was very close with Kobe, so I want to say it was probably the first game after that. The first Duke game after that.
Yeah, we played Pittsburgh.
We played Pittsburgh, and what's the coach of Pittsburgh's name?
Jeff Capel.
Jeff Capel. Thank you. He was at Duke.
From 94 to 98.
Yes. So, and listen, you could take the story away because you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, go ahead.
So that game was the first game that Duke played after Kobe Bryant's death. And obviously, like Shaka said, Coach K was very close to Kobe. And Kobe often has said if he hadn't gone straight to the NBA, he was going to Duke.
Yeah.
And so I guess just the emotions of it all kind of like got to him because he started, and this is what Coach K never does this.
Right.
He started screaming at the Duke fans and like just saying all types of, I'm not going to repeat what he said, but he was not kind because he thought that they were being disrespectful.
Yeah, he thought they were taunting
Jeff Capel, which they weren't.
They were not at all.
At all.
Yeah,
but I think
it was opposite.
The emotions were heightened and he kind of like lost control.
So basically, I believe they were saying sit with us, as in like, hey, you're part of the family, come back home. Playfully.
Right.
And he either didn't hear it or if he did, he didn't understand like what they were trying to say. So he started yelling at them, screaming. And like you said, profanity. Now, here's the only thing I don't like about this. Mistakes happen. He made a mistake in the sense of what he thought they were doing. I didn't like his sort of non-apology. Like, just be like, hey, you know, I was wrong. I shouldn't have did that. Or and there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I was kind of emotional that night, like, or whatever. Because I think it was the next day. He was like, I was very emotional yesterday.
Yeah, it was like Wednesday morning.
And because, I mean, he was kirking on them.
He was a kirk box.
And if you think about it, you're like, okay, you're a 19, 20-year-old kid. Because I saw the faces of the kid. They showed an angle where they showed his back talking to them, and they showed their faces.
His face looked like it was about to explode.
Yeah.
He was yelling.
And if you're thinking like, okay, you're going to Duke. You're now in the, what do they call it? The whatever that section is. The crazies or whatever. And it's like, this man this legend is screaming at you. Half of you went to the school because he was there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's part of the mystique of that school. I mean, those kids' faces looked crushed and probably confused. Like, why is he screaming this?
It's like one of those things where people say you shouldn't meet your heroes.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've told a couple stories about meeting some heroes and stuff and
Brian
stuff
Westbrook
like that.
So yeah.
But yeah, and so I felt like, yes, he did apologize, but it was kind of like oh, well, you know, I misheard it, so sorry. And it was like, no, like, honestly, you can't get that moment back, so you can't like get every kid that was standing there. But I feel like if I'm one of those kids, I would have wanted to see something like, yo, I'm like so sorry about that, like whatever, because he's a hero to them, and that probably crushed a lot of them at that moment, at least. But anyway. So I thought that was interesting. College basketball note with us. One of our friends come out, loves Maryland. Connected to what you were saying. So because people are just losing, the ranked teams are losing left and right, and there's just no leadership at all in the rankings. Maryland, even though they're not playing consistently at all,
they stay in the top 10
by the simple fact that everyone is losing. They're coming like a hair close of losing games that they should be winning, and they're playing horribly in these games and against way worse teams. And he even was saying, he was like, we're getting rewarded for like everybody else slipping up, basically. And that's why we're not learning our lesson in any of these games. Like, we're coming out here, we're struggling in the first half. We pull it together like at the last minute and beat these horrible teams. And because all these other teams are losing, we're actually climbing in the rankings and we don't deserve it. Basically is what he was saying. And I thought that was very funny. So Maryland, I believe, is number 9 or 8, something like that.
Yeah, Duke was number 9 last week. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing that happened a few weeks ago was that brawl between Kansas and Kansas State. I know you saw that.
I definitely saw that.
Actually, that happened like right before a Duke game I was about to watch.
Yeah.
I was on the same station. So 4 players got suspended for a total of 25 games, which is basically their season. Because there's only about 6 weeks left.
Yeah.
And
is it D'Souza? Is that his name?
Yeah. So he was the one that literally had like picked up a chair and like threw.
well, he was about to. He put it down.
Yeah. The kid that wasn't even dressed to play got it the worst.
Yeah, because he kind of. I mean, I understood. Look, is it D'Souza or Souza? But anyway, the guy from Kansas, he started. D'Souza. Okay, he started. He did stand over that dude, and
but you don't run up and hit nobody for that.
It was the end of the game. Like, he was standing over him like he was threatening him. You're right. You don't run off the bench and hit him, but I understand the sentiment behind like, no, get away from him. That's my teammate. Like, get away from him. You're standing over him like you're about to do something to him.
The game was over. It's 81-59. Like, first of all, don't run down there and
try to score.
And try to score.
Yeah.
First off,
the block would have been cool. If he had blocked and walked off, it'd be like, what are you doing?
Right. It was two bad things happened. One, why are you running out there trying to score? Game's over. Second, okay, I deserve to block your shot because you're a troll.
You're being extra. Yeah.
But then he did something even worse by being more extra and standing over him like
he stood directly over him, and he is a large man.
Towered over him.
Yes, thank you. I was about to say, or I wasn't about to say that, but that's the perfect word. He is a large man. He towered over him and threatened him. I understand the sentiment behind my teammate getting treated like that. No, you got a little extra. Look, your shot got sent to the bleachers. You would have deserved it. And we all could have walked away and laughed at you like, what were you doing, Slim?
Right.
I'm glad he blocked that shit.
Yeah, but that ended up being way too heated. And that is a for real rivalry. Like those two schools, there's no lost love between them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's college basketball. It's actually going to start heating up a little more. And now that the NFL is over, I'm definitely going to be paying much more attention to college basketball.
Yeah. Conference tournament time later this month, right?
That will be at the end of the month, beginning of March. So we got about 3 weeks before like conferences are settled either way. Yeah. Because not every conference has a tournament. So
we're getting ridiculous. There. But anyway. But yeah, it's a fun time.
Yeah, fun times. So season premiere.
Man, I'm so happy to be back. And we had a nice pre-production meeting, which we're charting out our future.
Yeah, we charting out a really good course, and it's a bunch of changes.
We're very excited. Yeah, good changes. Good changes. So we're really, really, really excited. Yeah, I'm happy to be back.
Awesome. I want to thank everybody for listening to the Stop Playing podcast with Sham and Shaka. Again, you can get us wherever you listen to your podcast. We're everywhere now, like literally. So please share it with your friends. You can reach us on Facebook and Instagram at the Stop Playing Podcast and on Twitter at stop_playing pod. And like I always say, no double dipping unless it's the podcast. Keep your chips on the plate.
Yes, ma'am.
Stop playing.